Mission fucking accomplished. Goon Swarm is not a threat.
Good luck with your old dumb nullsec war stuffed out #1. Anunnaki Keepstar is next, and then come on.
There, then you were just going to fucking magically jump into EVE Online in a system, and it was just going to load, and nobody was going to call you fucking stupid later?
There's an Eagle fleet that has dive bombed a Megathron fleet. This is the bravest shit I have ever seen in my life.
The best possible shot to do something to the Imperium, and you fucked it up.
I talked a lot of shit over the last couple months. It's time to fucking eat some. And I showed up here to eat shit. Like,
the reason that this keeps started and get contested, and I cannot make this up, is because of tie-dye.
Guess where goons are gonna live after this war is over?
Current plan is 319, I believe, right?
So,
Hi, sick.
I can tell you very
overreacting.
clearly, our Diplos didn't even fucking care. So, like,
White daddy.
Wow, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to, what is it, Wednesday? It's the Wednesday night stream, and as you can tell, it looks a little different around here. I've got my camera on. Don't make it weird. But tonight, I'm joined by a bunch of folks that are really knowledgeable about the game of EVE Online. I've got LB here with me. Hello, LB.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Glad to see you. I've also got Khan here. Hello, Khan.
Hi, can you text me back afterwards? You look really hot.
Yeah, I'll try. And then we're also joined by moderator.
Hey. Hit me up after the stream too.
Moderator, what the hell? That's my date.
Absolutely. Send the text messages, send the love. It's fine. I don't mind at all.
One by one.
And we're also joined by Sven Bauer. Hello, Sven.
Yep. What's up, gamers?
And we've got Mystical Might, fantastic and ever lovely.
Follow the link in my name.
Don't do that. We've also got Skyhawk Everheart. Hello. And of course, I'm Redline. And tonight, we've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about. There is a massive nerf to one of my favorite things. And I think that I'm going to be in the minority here, and everyone else is going to beat me up. But before we talk about the Zarzak nerf, I just have to say one thing. I absolutely love Big AB.
You're a fucking sellout.
This message was sponsored, by the way.
This message
You're
was
a simp for the
sponsored
boat,
by Hycorian in the chat. Please sub. Thank you.
I just finished the flashpoint. I'm sending you the money now. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Redline.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate the money. Anyways, on to this nerf. So it's Zarzak. Zarzak big nerf. So now when you jump in, you can only leave out of the same gate that you came in for 6 hours, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
Holy shit. So Zarzak is now no longer a superhighway, which is kind of crazy to me. W? Why is that a W?
Because 400 Imperium or Frat or Horde battlecruisers showing up where they shouldn't is really annoying.
I don't think the intention was ever to be a super highway. I know
It was-
that's controversial, seeing as how it came out, but I think
it was meant as like a way for direct enlisted pilots to get to the war zone. And now it's a way for direct enlisted pilots to get to the war zone. I think it fills its purpose.
Right, but if its purpose wasn't also to connect people across the galaxy, then why would it have done that from the beginning? Like, the thing is that it is a good purpose. Connecting people like that is a good thing. It is not a bad thing. And if 200 random people show up to your fight, then 200 random people show up to your fight. There shouldn't be stuff that people aren't allowed to go to because they're in a big group or something like that. And that's kind of what this feels like.
a pure blind based group should not be able to turn up with 150 people to a Deterid timer in 15 minutes. That's just the example that I like to use with it. It's not meant
without high effort.
Without high effort, correct. People have done that in the past with wormholes. Init does it very well with Drifter wormholes. Big Ab is starting to do it with Drifter wormholes. All that other stuff. But you can't simply take a gate and a Titan bridge and simply be in the other side of the game in 15 minutes. That was always the issue.
Right, yeah,
and
no,
now that
you
seems
can't
to be fixed.
you can't be there within 15 minutes, without putting effort into getting wormholes and stuff like that. But realistically, how much effort is that to find a wormhole
lot.
across the galaxy? It's not that much effort.
So
When
What are you on about?
they're
It is
randomly
a lot of
generated, they're
effort.
mass limited. You have to take chains that are unstable and time limited.
Mhm.
You can't set up infrastructure to get the wormhole that goes to fucking Asalonin like you can with fucking Zarzak.
Right, yeah,
Put it
so
this
it's
way.
obviously it's not as strong as Zarzak was, but it's still a viable way to get 200 people to your doorstep at almost any point in time. I'll say it is random, so it's obviously not going to be guaranteed, but it's pretty likely that if you put in an appropriate amount of effort, you're going to be able to find a wormhole or some other way to get to where you want to go. Even
That's not accurate though, because wormholes are mass limited. You can't
They're
throw 200
restricted
people
in
through
many
a wormhole.
ways.
You can throw 200 battleships through a wormhole. You can free up Zarzak. FRT moved multiple full battleship fleets to Curse from Vemel. That is that's the map.
Yep.
So there's
True.
something people are like missing here, a little bit in that if you really want to, you can still use Zarzak, but not in the same scope that you could before. If you really want to now, if you just simply stage all your shit in Zarzak, right, in terms of all these fits, you have a spare battleship, right? You jump clone there, right? You go out the gate you want to go. You can still go there, but the way it works now is basically the same way that Albion Online has worked for a very long time, where you are simply locked to the portal that you went through. And if you want to unlock yourself, you have to physically get to the other side of known space, go through that portal, and then reset your timer. So CCP is using an Albion Online mechanic essentially to dictate how this works. So you can still continue to bring, 200 battleships through there, but now you have to pre-stage all of your assets ahead of time instead of having, a sudden ping. Hey, we've got a cap fight going on here, or we found, some crabs. We're going to throw 300, bombers and Kikimoras at you. So they found some balance here, and I think ultimately that's pretty healthy in terms of effort to kind of reward.
I mean, they should remove that jump clone thing as well. It's still stupid and shouldn't be in the game.
That was found out almost immediately, and they were
Like it's alright. Like it's not going to be a major issue with groups like FRT because their members just don't have that sort of commitment outside of like their like special Chinese SIGs. Big groups like Big Up probably have the commitment levels to do it. I don't know, like with use of Dog for it, but like the rest of these might be able to do it. Oh, and Jump to Beacon, I guess, as well. But yeah, that also needs removed from the game. It's still a dumb mechanic. I even think 6 hours is actually still way too generous of a time frame. It should probably be a day or multiple days.
But I mean, isn't like a timer like that just kind of a lazy fix, though?
No.
Yeah,
the fix exactly
is you just shouldn't be able to leave any other gate but the gate you went in originally. Like, full stop. I think 6 hours is still too much of a cop out, right? Because if fucking in it know that they have a timer attached, the fight the help goons fight Horde, and they want to bring their Armageddon fleet to sit at 300 kilometers and shoot stuff and then warp off. Like, they can realistically do that with like 6 hours timer.
I mean, they could so even without Zarzak, right? Pretend that Zarzak never existed. If there's a timer that someone has planned to go help someone else
we
with,
still have fatigueless amplexes in the game that are still an absolute cancer. Zarzak just exacerbated the current problem.
The only thing that stands between 200 people showing up at your doorstep now than before Zarzak is time, right?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a different aspect to it, right? If it spend all that time moving there, and I don't know, let's say it takes a fucking hour to move that battleship fleet, and Horde just don't form, right? That's an hour of everyone's time wasted getting there. You have to go back 2 hours wasted. Blue balling is much more effective then because it's not there's like no commitment, right? That time investment is important.
The trade-off for projection of big fleets is time and time commitment. And like if you move and waste 400 people's time, moving like your entire super fleet 4 hours somewhere, and then like you're forced to stand down because the enemy brought too much, right? That's
The
many,
average
many,
line
many,
member
many,
is
many
not gonna
man hours
show up
wasted.
again.
Yeah,
And
like
it's just way less fun than, oh, we can't fight. All right, 15 minutes, we're back home.
So let
Like,
me
it's
take this a couple steps back. So there are three really like factors in kind of the force projection, right? So the three of them are basically like the number of players, right? In how many people can I physically take there, right? And the second is time. How long will it physically take for me to get from point A, to point like B, my destination, okay? And then the next one is going to basically be like the mass, right? In terms of what level of Apex doctrine, right, can I bring? So Zarzak, the issue that you had with all of them is that there were no restrictions on any of these. You could bring as many people as you wanted in the best subcaps you could possibly bring, and you could be there instantaneously. Now, what's going on with Zarzak is the time dimension has been reduced to a place where it's similar-ish to wormholes, in the sense that wormholes, what's being reduced there is you can bring as many people as you want. You can get from point A to point B instantaneously if you have a direct or a good enough connection. But the part that you could never have is that anything larger than a T3C, right, is going to mask the whole. If I'm a small group like Hydra, okay, I can bring like 20, 30 battleships and I'll be fine. But if I'm in it, the best I can do is T3Cs, or my hull's going to get masked out and I can't come back. So now that the time dimension is being affected, I believe Albion's time till timer reset is basically 24 hours, right? Is so that way, if I want to commit to another timer, right, that's going on later on in the day, I'm still locked to the original timer. So I have to choose and commit where I'm wanting to go in space and time, and with how many people.
I think any argument for like wormholes fulfilling the same role implies that the groups turning up to these fights at the moment care enough to actually put in the effort, whereas it's just so much easy access to move around that if you see a fight going on, you can just turn up for the fun of it, as opposed to like, oh, I actually give a fuck about this timer that I want to turn up to.
I can use the Death or Glory Russians. I don't speak for them, but I can use them as an example. They get attacked by Big Ab. Big Ab brings an EU side, like an EU timer fleet, and we USTZ. We bring as many people as we can to fight Russians in their prime time zone. While this entire fight goes on, they drop caps, and within 7 minutes, there is an init fleet and a goon fleet, almost full-sized, on grid, munching on everything because of Zarzak. Now, those locals now will never commit anything. There was that one fight they had. They committed all their caps that they could, and they tried to defend. They have never committed caps since.
And now
except in like 1 or 2 scenarios.
So my question for you now, though, is that you think they will now?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a higher likelihood. It's the same kind of equation that, I mean, like Ian Winterco would run is, okay, we drop some dreads within like 5 jumps of fucking Zarzak, and suddenly we have 2 more fucking goon fleets and init fleets to deal with.
Yeah, and
can we deal with that by ourselves? Probably not, no.
I can now fight Snuff CNTZ and Sailor and everything else without having to worry about 300 Frat right behind him, like it has been for the last 3-4 months. Even though that's CNTZ politics and that's complicated, it's the same example. I can now fight Sailor if I want to, and not quite worry as much as I used to about 300-400 Frat showing up on my doorstep within 5 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, though, half that FRT blob of 300 people's probably there to help you, and the other half's probably there to shoot you.
So now, I mean, you don't want this massive group of 200, 400, however many people. You don't want this group of people at your fight. What else are they gonna do? Like, what
they can go find their own fucking content and stop leeching on everyone else's content. I don't get why.
They can get out of their crablands that they've established and they go invade someone, or like.
So do you mean to tell me that the groups that you guys are in have never leached on content. You
Oh,
only
we have.
participate
No, we
in
used to.
content that you
We
create
we used to-
yourself.
we
make,
purposefully live in a very centralized area
Yeah.
that you can't really crab in very easily, but you can't get evicted from as easily either, right?
And you
So,
can
like-
get everywhere very easily, so you didn't even need Zarzak, right? Because you can travel the galaxy in the blink of an eye anyways, all of the time, right?
Well, no, but
What do you
Losec's a
mean?
lot.
Is he talk? Are
In
you
Turner.
referencing Turner? Right,
Yeah.
that's wormholes, which require us to rage roll.
Barely.
scan.
That's okay.
Yeah,
well, okay.
yeah.
That's
Well,
rolling
that's
thing
a
is
to be
stretch.
fair,
Let's
Turner's
not
also
try to
still
make
kind of
complex
broken and
seem
probably
harder
should
than it
never have
is.
been added to the game. Like,
But
there's
the
zero
thing is
reason
that
for
it
Turner to
was.
exist.
It was added to the game. It exists, and
Yeah,
there
but
are
doesn't
groups
make it a
right
good
now
idea.
that live within, that region of Turner, around the surrounding systems that can oppress now freely, without Zarzak being an alternative, a counter.
So the big thing about Turner wormholes is it's two things, right? I mean, those two things aside, I do think that the projection's kind of dumb, but the things that make the Turner wormholes a lot less broken than the actual gates that were connected to Turner through Zarzak is it's 50-minute respawns. You can't rage roll for holes. Like if you want to be somewhere, you either need to have had a hole up, or like scan the area around it, or be lucky, right? And the second thing is you still have that mass limitation. We can't send full TFI fleets through, right? Or Bargus fleets. You'll just roll the hole.
You can also fuck with people's holes as well, right?
Yeah,
And
like
Turner's
you
now
can
on the
send
east side.
suicide
So if you
sigils.
see there's a problematic Turner hole near you, just go fucking crit it.
Yeah.
Like you are right that Turner is a forced projection that shouldn't probably exist, but it's not comparable to Zarzak in any way because of those three.
Well, no,
reasons.
you're absolutely right. I mean, Zarzak was an extremely strong. It was a very strong superhighway. But like my argument is that connecting people is not a bad thing.
Yes, it
But
is because it's the reason the game's in a shit state, right? We can't. All right,
No,
Snuff can't go
let him
fight.
finish.
We can't.
I don't think that.
we're in
I
this-
don't think that's the reason at all. But you can continue.
I mean, it's the same disingenuous argument he spews on every time. It's like talking the fucking risk about antiplexes.
There's
Like,
nothing
well, you need to connect
disingenuous about my argument. My
It is, you
argument,
can't-
my
you
argument
can't-
is very simple. It is that one, people aren't actively just running around and searching for ways that they can ruin your gameplay, like showing up to your timers and shit like that. And two, if they are, and they do show up to your timers and try to fight you, maybe you should just kill them. You have more ships to kill. It seems like a good thing to me.
Here's a recent example, right? For some reason, you decided to fight fucking Munins and Nightmares. Fucking 50-bit big ab Munin or Bargus and like fucking 50 or like fucking 70 Munins from fucking Shitter Coalition. That fight shouldn't have happened, right? Big Ab are easily able to get there. I don't think he's actually used
We
Turner.
didn't-
Yeah,
we
you
didn't
did use
use
fucking
Turner
carrier
as a
conduit, right?
either.
Theros are probably bad for the game, right? That same regard. But like, if they had a blue ball that fight, right? That's actually the distinction between Turner, right? If you use Turner to get there, right? That's no commitment, no strength, no fucking stress on your back, right? If we blue balled that fight like we should have, you just got a fuck ton of fatigue and you're kind of limited in what you can do for the rest of the night and the pace you can do it at.
Yeah, and like
There's a clear
other
trade-off
blocks of
there.
content is like
Yeah.
The problem with having everybody get everywhere is that it removes the downsides of living deep in nullsec and staging deep in nullsec, where you're able to crab and live and like make money with your 40,000 man alliance, right? Like if Horde, for example, fully deployed, like wanted to fight us and got 200 people to deploy to lowsec, that'd be one thing, right? But they don't. They can still live in their area and still fuck with fights that are on the opposite side of the map. Like geography
problem
is
is
trade-offs.
commitment,
Geography
Redmine.
should have trade-offs,
Yeah.
and the trade-offs are time and effort. Why? Because otherwise it becomes
Every fight's
it's
the
just
same.
it's just n+1. It's just it's unfun. Like groups of smaller sizes that are more spread out, having smaller localized fights is so much more enjoyable than 1% tie-dye fuckfests.
I mean, I agree with you on that. Anything is more enjoyable than.
But not every
tie-dye
fight's a
fuckfest.
1% tie-dye
now-
fuckfest.
Right.
like-
yeah. Not
like-
every fight's like that. Most
There
fights
was-
are pretty quick.
There was look, we had a dread brawl in Igno. It wasn't like a pre-planned thing from us.
Mhm.
It was like spur of the moment, fuck it, let's brawl, right?
No.
like 750 goons showed up, or Imperium showed up, or was it 650?
If you don't include in it because that was already pre-moved.
Yeah, in it were invited, just like Shadow Cartel and Setup were. Goons weren't invited, but they're there anyway, right?
If it's there, goons are there.
Goons were there, and they were in. They got the Igno from Delve.
But that's the thing.
Fucking track.
But that's the thing is that they were invited, and
no.
They
were invited. Were invited.
If Init were invited, then goons were invited.
No.
Let's not pretend like they're still not attached to the hit.
Listen. Init pre-moved. Init would have pre-moved, and like stage jump clones, if they were invited, regardless of whether Zarzak was there, is the thing, right?
Right.
Init would have been there.
And that's what I'm saying is that like these backzones and things like that, people are gonna do these things regardless.
But you're right.
But they had to
the commitment.
Time
so
setting up stuff, like
so
for example,
what does them spending the time do for the game?
If Big Up don't fight and it's just wasted all that fucking time, and they're less likely to show up to help us the next time, that's an effective tactic.
But that's a shit tactic. First off,
but
blue
that's
balling,
the, right? That's how you get even fights. That's how you get reasonable fights.
Let me again try to
managing your members is like.
On this one. So, really, again, like the question is about, again, like risk for reward and like how much you want to commit to something. If Pandemic Horde or Fraternity or whoever really decides that for whatever reason they want to kill our faction forward as ours, right? Then, cool. Make the choice, move your super fleet down here, right, and fully commit to everything. If they do that, fair, it's totally fair on them. If Fraternity want to do the same thing, again, fair on them, right? But make the commitment and choose the risk, right, of deploying everything in order to get the reward of, knocking down all our shit. Likewise, with Money Moons, especially with the meta Noxes being what they are, if you have a moon empire located somewhere in fuck off Narnia, again, this is going to tie back to old like Pandemic Legion shit. The reason Pandemic Legion was what they were at the time was because they had Technidium moons, and they had more carriers and super carriers than everyone else, and they could defend those moons at any given time because there was no fatigue. So you could get on a grid for one siege cycle and hit a moon, but if you were on any longer than that, you would be dropped on by super carriers and you would lose everything. It's the same thing now. If you want to have, an expansive empire, you should be able to have to commit to deploying assets to a place ahead of time, because that means you also can't be somewhere, because that trade-off means you also can't be somewhere else. Choose to be somewhere, commit to one thing. The problem is if you can do everything everywhere all at once, just like the movie title, it turns into a state where smaller alliances will refuse to actually commit to putting any serious capital level assets on the grid because they know that their asses are going to get destroyed by anyone our size, snuff sizes, or larger, because we can be there at the drop of a hat with battleships and we'll fuck you up.
But you can probably be there at the drop of a hat right now,
no,
anyways,
you can't.
right?
You can't.
If a fight look. With the hyperbole as an example, right? Just the concept of projection isn't bad because it brings people together, letting you like have more fights. Why is there a jump range? Shouldn't you be able to jump everywhere? I mean, that'd connect people. Like you should be able to bridge from 1DQ straight into fucking
actions have to have consequences. I get that.
Zarzak doesn't.
And you're right. Zarzak does not have consequences. I get that. So like what kind of could there have been consequences created that aren't just wait 6 hours? Because like my thought is also not only is
the
like
payment.
the super highway aspect of it, but like for smaller groups, like teensy tiny ones, smaller than any group you guys are in. What about them? It is a super easy access point for roaming groups and things like that. So could there be?
They already have Nada's favorite thing, which is filaments.
Filaments, yeah, of course. But filaments. So like as a As a nullsec person, though, hold on one sec. I gotta ban this bot.
Like the people this affect, like the people you could fucking make the fucking crybaby excuse for it actually affects, are the people who fucking roam from min-mill faction warfare space to fucking Galente faction warfare space.
Well, I'm talking like
Those are the people who
so think of it this way. So right, I'm in a group. I'm in test, and if I'm going to form a fleet, I want to go. Say I want to go to the southeast because I want to fuck with the space down there. That's what I want to do. So before my, however 15, 20 person group could go through Zarzak, get to the southeast relatively easily. Now we cannot. So our
Why
alternative.
should you be able to?
You live in.
Well, why shouldn't I be able
to?
to?
You live in the far north.
You don't live there, and you have no skin in the game.
Okay, but it's the same as if I wanted to take a roam from Jita. Like, if I wanted to get a bunch of people together that don't really do PvP, and I wanted to help new players get to know PvPing and things like that, it would be the same thing for Jita.
There's a reason why Bjorn's fleets almost always went to Tribute, or always went to Vale, or to the other surrounding regions around Jita, because he doesn't have to walk 30-40 jumps to do it. Or you just take 3 hours before you do your fleet and scan a wormhole. You come back to me after you've done that for a week non-stop and you will burn out. Trust me. That's why there are scanning incentives in Snuff, in Shadow Cartel, in
are you making my point for me, or
no? I'm making the point that you should not be able to go from one side of the map to the other unless you put in the effort.
So let me just make sure that I understand. Because there are two options that I'm hearing. The option is, one, burn people out from scanning wormholes because it's so desperately hard to do, or two, have a superhighway.
Okay,
like
I'll give you an example of if you did it by yourself. A group, which is why there are incentives, doesn't burn out from scanning wormholes. Shadow Cartel doesn't, Snuff doesn't, Big Ab doesn't. We have a system in place that spreads it out evenly and gives a reward for it. That's why no one burns out.
Awesome.
Or you go to the closest neighbor that isn't blue with you, which unfortunately, because you're in test, everyone is blue with you. That's a test problem, not a you problem.
Test probably lives closest to ourselves out of any group, to be fair.
It's you just go to the closest enemy you have and you fight them. That's how you develop the relationships with them. You're not supposed to go from one end to the map to the other in 15-20 minutes. I understand your point, but you can't go from one end to the other in 15 minutes.
Like for example,
also Farah exists.
Yeah, two things or three things. Farah, right? Filaments.
Yeah. So
and then
so
also
again,
why
we're talking about a guarantee versus non-guarantee. That was the distinction that we made earlier. Is that wormholes could not be compared to Zarzak in a way that I wanted to.
Gating.
But so I want to make sure we don't compare them in any other way.
There's a reason why gate camping, like entry points, is completely dead. Like nobody camps LXQ anymore, right?
Well, what's the reason? Why not?
Because no one goes through there because of filaments.
Because of filaments. Just filament.
Yeah, filaments.
If you want to go somewhere specific, either find a wormhole or gate. If you want the chance at content, hit the filament button.
You used to be able to go into LXQ, and there was a standing rule before Horde got elite. There was a standing rule that if you dropped a content dread there, like I used to do that stuff, you would not get DD'd or supered. That was their way of encouraging capitals into that system for fun streamers and content. That doesn't happen anymore because there's probably one dread in LXQ every 6 months, and some trigger-happy person just wants to jump his Titan in and he's never used to DD it.
But anyway,
well, the rule I think now is no caps at all. So if anybody brings a cap out in LXQ, and if it's a friendly round,
but no one goes through there anymore because everyone's
you're right.
The last content dread I saw was immediately DD'd by a PL Titan. And I was about to go do the same thing that guy was going to do. It had been a while.
Redline, I'm going to say something that you're probably not going to like, but the issue that you're running into is that you're making two choices that are mutually exclusive and you're wanting both of them. You want to simultaneously live and test, but you want to get to the other edge of the game to find content. So, like, I hate to tell you, but you choose one or the other. You can either live somewhere in between and what I'm saying is there's going to be a trade-off. If you want to do both, you can either go through the wormholes, right? Because it sounds like if you're roaming, it's going to be with probably not a ton of people, right? You're not bringing a fleet-sized group.
20?
Right?
20?
Yeah, okay. So you can reasonably get through that with a wormhole. But what I'm saying is, if people want to be able to get that kind of content quickly, live somewhere in between where the target lives and there. That's the trade-off, is that you choose the space that you live in, and there should be a pro and a con to it. The pro is you get the defensive umbrella.
Like, the thing
pro
is
you get the defensive umbrella. The con
hold
is you
on,
can't
wait
get
a second.
immediately.
Because I didn't choose the space that I live in. And I chose
You
to
did.
be in this
You're in
alliance. The alliance chose the space to
No,
live in.
no,
right?
you chose
I get
test.
that.
You chose where you live. No, you're being disingenuous.
This
You
is
chose
just
test. You
not
chose
being-
where you live.
All right,
This is just a
all right,
fucking joke at this point, dude.
That might be fair.
Another
That might be
trade-off.
fair.
Keep it above board.
Another
I'm
trade-off.
thinking.
If you live close to content, generally that means that the content's also close to you, which means farming in that area is a lot harder because there's a lot more people around and a lot more
Brave
hostiles.
got burnt out living in QTAC 5. When they got kicked out and they came to QTAC, was it QTAC 5 Pure Blind? Or FTAC 5? FTAC N. FTAC N.
FN?
There we go.
Yeah.
FTAC N. I remember being in their channels and they are specifically saying, we're burning out, guys. We can't do this anymore. Brave was like the meat cannon for everyone, or the cannon fodder. Everyone went with a 20, 30-man fleet to Brave's ESS every day, and they were getting burnt out. And what did they do? They moved, eventually, after getting kicked out, they moved to Aquarius, and now all they talk about is crabbing. Like, every day. And all they do is go through Zarzak and get...
I think that's just a part of the cultural change within Brave, because like their entire thing used to be they would live in places where people would come and fight them, and they welcome that. And
I
then,
remember
like,
Syndicate.
fucking Crab Brains started running the show.
Syndicate Brave was one, like, I was in there. We used to get farmed every day by Init. Still really, really fun. But that's not the game culture anymore.
Groups that actually want to play the game and get that kind of content live in the areas where that happens. Like, if you look at fucking the faction warfare shitters, where like Snuff and Begab live, they live under fucking us, right? But they're also having the time of their lives because they get their shitty little fucking Heron versus Heron fights and stuff like that.
And like, they can also punch up against us. Like, if we drop like late night, like only one active fax, and they drop 2 nags on it, like that shit's probably dying because we like got cut out, right? Like, you live where there's content if you want guaranteed content. You don't live in fucking like Outer Passage or Cobalt Edge if you want any content.
I sympathize with your point, Redline, but it's like moderate. It's exactly like
No. I think Nada was right. The point was a little bit disingenuous, so I'm just gonna pretend I didn't say it. But I do want to get a perspective. So LB actually lives in Zarzak. So LB, what kind of impact does this timer have on you? Any at all?
On me specifically and my niche use of Zarzak, it has no impact on me.
And what is your niche use of Zarzak? Like, what do you use
I'm
Zarzak for, and what is this doing?
I'm direct enlisted in Garissa's militia. I stage out of Zarzak. I only use the Alsavoynian gate to go in and out. Even if I use the shipcaster to leave to go do plexes or PvP or whatever, when I get into a shuttle to reship, I'm always coming to the Alsavoynian gate because it's the closest gate that I'm doing. So even if I get the 6-hour emanation timer or whatever it is, then that doesn't matter because I'm either going out the shipcaster again or I'm going to go out the Alsavoynian gate anyways. My logistics that I do, I use a non-enlisted alt. So in my alliance, but not direct enlisted with Garissa's militia. And they will go in and out the Alsavoynian gate as well because it's the shortest one. So even they get I'm sitting pretty. This just changes nothing for me. The attempts they were using before to try to limit Zarzak's use, being like the toll booth system. If you crank that up to 11, that's just going to prohibit, or not prohibit, discourage people from doing any sort of logistics into and out of Zarzak, which means it won't become the pirate staging system that people want it to become.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that they've done is they've added more risk to the gates, so the roaming pirate gangs will shoot anybody who's not enlisted with the pirates. Right? So you can't camp the gate now with sabers and with faction warfare groups to try to shoot people participating in the pirate insurgencies.
Yeah.
The gates have been fairly quiet, except for the occasional time when the boatmen will put a drag bubble for Frat, kill an entire fucking battleship fleet, which is funny.
Oh,
Fake
which
news,
by the
fake
way,
news, fake
I'm
news. Never happened.
still pissed off they nerfed that, even though it means nothing because no one's going to be coming through Zarzak anymore. Why
yeah,
nerf
exactly.
mechanic like that? Why? Just
It's a bit
I
dodgy.
mean,
So here's the question though. Just kind of sticking, because you mentioned that it could never become the pirate staging system that people wanted it to be. Now that there is this emanation lock, do you think that this gives CCP an opportunity to make Zarzak like more robust? Actually make it a pirate staging
And
system with
The big
history and
request,
everything like
the
that?
big request for changes is not with Zarzak; it's with the pirate fob. The pirate
And
fob
shipcasters.
safety asset mechanic right now is fucking is broken.
The asset
Because it will
safety
just
with it's
safety
fine.
asset
It's
your stuff
completely
somewhere in low sec.
No,
right?
that's complete.
Instead
That
of
is completely fine and reasonable.
so, what's the point of staging in the fob then?
Their fobs are not supposed to be permanent. They're supposed to be temporary. Also, you usually put some stuff there, right? Like, why would you put all your fucking shit there? Just get it out of asset safety.
Why would I put
You know,
any
so,
ships
yeah,
there?
just-
Then? Why don't I just keep them all in Zarzak? Or keep
Do
them
that.
all in an NPC system in low sec?
I mean,
So then the fob is
it's
useless.
a place
Yeah,
you
and
can
at that
dock,
point,
place
what
you
are
can
you
tell
using
her,
the
a
fob
place you
for?
can rep, right? That's close to the on the the incursion, whatever they're fucking called, right? Like I don't. That's why it's better than Zarzak. I don't. You shouldn't deploy all your stuff there, probably, or just all your like ad hoc stuff that you need on like a temporary or like a on hand basis.
But if I go ahead and stage 5 coercer navy issues in the fob and the insurgency ends, that stuff goes to asset safety, and then now we need to pay to get it back out.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it travel back to Zarzak, or why doesn't it go to the next fob?
Because
Fob wasn't destroyed. Fob is just moving. Why doesn't it
that's
move
just,
with the
that's
fob?
just like you're putting your stuff in a temporary
Okay.
structure and wondering why it goes.
No. No, he's right. It should stay with the fob. If the fob isn't being destroyed, then those items, those ships, all that stuff should stay in there or go back to Zarzak. Because remember, at this point, like now you've got the emanation lock. There's no reason for that stuff not to go back to Zarzak.
West's question: why not just move the ships out before it ends?
Yeah, this honestly seems like a who fucking cares thing. Like, actually, who cares?
I mean, the people
Also,
who care are the people who
LB, I have a
participate in the
question.
content.
I don't
And
think
while that
Real quick,
might not be you, it's
Redline,
some people.
Redline.
What?
Give me
What?
one sec.
What?
So, I think the reason why Zarzak, I mean, at least in my opinion, will never be a staging system is because, fundamentally, the way that it is set up it doesn't really encourage people to use it as like a staging, right? So
Yeah, so
the
what could
only-
we do
the o-
to make
listen,
it so that they did?
well, I don't think it's necessarily designed for that. I think
Why
its
not?
design goal was to allow people who live in nullsec to engage with direct enlisted pirate content.
But part of the bonus of living in Zarzak is building pirate ships for cheap. The only way to do that is to stage logistics things there, like minerals. And
How much
fucking
cheaper is it?
materials. It's cheaper and it's quicker.
Like,
it takes me like 4 hours to build an alligator.
like
Wasn't it like
cost-wise,
just a flat
though?
25% reduction
Is it
in
25%
build cost or some
cheaper?
shit?
Something like
I
that.
don't remember. I think it was.
No,
Regardless,
that's pretty
there's
good.
bonuses to Zarzak for industry if you're building pirate ships.
I mean, I
If,
think
if it wasn't a point to be a staging system, then I don't know why they have.
I mean, the thing is with the staging system aspect of it is you have a shipcaster that can send you to any of the war zones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And has exits to those war zones.
I think
Right.
like the question.
Literally the ideal stager for people participating in
Yeah.
pirate
So
insurgencies.
it sounds like it's a great place for people staging an insurgency. How do we make it better? That's the question for the panel. How do we make it better?
The bubble stuff was asked by the people that do live there because people were just bubbling the shipcaster and station.
I think the shipcaster should spit you out within tether range of the fob. I don't
Does.
think having the extra step does it.
Yeah.
Oh well, then I don't know. Like, it's just because people don't want to live in Zarzak because it's much easier with you got a more fleshed out market if you just like live in Jita or live in the staging systems of these larger fact war alliances?
I was actually going to ask you, like, that's kind of the real thing I was going to get to is it seems like if you really had a solid market, you would be able to do more with it, but I don't know how you get the resources into Zarzak now with the changes.
What if they
So,
were
even
what if they
before
were
the
started in Zarzak? What if they were mining sites, adding sites within Zarzak?
you're never gonna have enough to sustain any sort of
Sustain what?
market. More like one single system.
What kind of
worth
market needs to be
mining and
sustained?
writing?
T1 frigates?
I mean, you just bring
It's
a block together
faction
the
war,
resources.
dude. It's
Wait,
not.
Really should.
It's not
block-
TFIs that blot out the sun.
Faction warfare ranges across all shit
It's
types
not.
now.
Yeah, it's don't say the classic nullsec line of it's just faction warfare frigates. It's very boring. Faction warfare is a variety.
Especially the pirate content, right? You see a lot more of literally every comp.
Well, it's
Yeah,
mostly
they're nearly-
multi-boxes and Algoses, but there's the few that make it actually worthwhile.
All the sites in Garissa's Insurgencies and Angel Insurgency are advanced sites. They let in T2 and pirate level ships. So if they let those things in, those are going to be the ships that you're going to see doing PvP them.
You'll see marauders and stuff like that. I get that as well in this.
The stumbling block with Zarzak being a stager is the fob, because if your stuff is not being sent back to Zarzak to restart the next insurgency, you're just going to stage in an NPC station somewhere in low-sec anyways.
Why
so why would you bother?
Why don't you just move your stuff back?
Well, because I'm one dude. So I'm one dude moving 18 ships back and forth.
You moved it out there.
I moved it to Zarzak once, and then I stage out of Zarzak. I'm like one of the only people who would stage out of
All the ships you
Zarzak.
have in the fob, you moved them out of the fob or to the fob from Zarzak.
I'm doing that every 2 weeks. I'm doing it once to Zarzak.
Well, just don't move them back to more than you can afford to move back. I don't get the issue here, right? Like,
I'm trying to figure out how
the issue is ease of use and quality of life. It should be something that is. Things in the game should be fun, simple as. And moving ships, not typically fun.
So if you're moving stuff, how does the shipcaster work? Is it
the shipcaster is one way. There's a start point in Zarzak, and then it casts you to the pirate fob. So wherever the pirate fob moves, it's where the shipcaster will send you.
But there's more than one pirate fob, no? Right? Like there's two different areas.
Garissa's one so the one in Zarzak alternates between the two fobs. It'll do a minute to the Garissa's fob. There'll be a minute cooldown, and then a minute to the Angel's fob. And then a minute cooldown.
Is there not a death clone thing, like a clone center in the station in Zarzak?
Yep.
Why don't you just death clone back to Zarzak whenever you lose a ship and then just shipcast back out instead of moving anything to the fob?
That's what I do. But there are people who stage in the fob. Well, they used to
that's
stage
on
in the
them.
fob.
Who fucking cares?
That's just a fucking skill issue.
Well,
Yeah,
I was going to say, the point is that you don't get to stage out of the fob, though. They're clearly not designed for that. They were designed basically to be literally like
operating bases,
a temporary base. Like the whole point of it,
free repairs.
Is you get to repair for free, you get to tether for free, and you get to fit your shit.
Honestly, I think it's too strong, but
I was going to say, it seems like it's just like a one-way version of Thera, right? That's linked to faction warfare permanently.
I know. So most of those in those wars, at least in the Glente wars, right? Galamil doesn't have citadels. Talmil doesn't have citadels. Angels or Garistas are the only ones that have something like a citadel.
Especially, it moves around with the war zone.
Yeah.
So if it goes to a group that your group didn't have an Astra in, or goes to an area that your group didn't have an Astra in, well, you still have tether. You still have free repairs and shit.
yeah, for anyone complaining that they stage out of the fob and then their shit gets moved or to asset safety when the fob moves, I think is just go stage in fucking Zarzak and you're gonna be laughing.
And do you know when the fob's moving?
Just do what LB does in Zarzak. Sounds easy. But again, the question is, how do we make Zarzak better?
I mean, what more does it want?
Why not? Shouldn't we?
What do you mean by better?
Shouldn't
why are we making Rakapass better?
Well, because Rakapass is
Rakapass is already stupid broken as it is anyway.
When are we
a hive of
allowing
degeneracy.
I think
to
the answer is it
have
already
farms,
has been, though. Like, the idea, if you're like an LB dude who wants to stage out of Zarzak, part of the problem is if you want to try to actually like make money or live, and you have like, you know, assholes like us coming in and fucking with him all the time because we can, it's kind of hard to do that. Now that some of this has changed a little bit, he gets fucked with a little bit less. I mean, we can still have clones and assets that are pre-staged there, and we can death clone there, but there's less incentive to do so. I mean, I think the whole idea is that you being in pirate faction warfare, you get like, you know, pirate LP and other things that you can use to sustain yourself, right, and to pay for shit, right? Or am I missing something?
No, that's accurate.
So I think for now, what we're probably going to have to do is like, let's see. I mean, if we were, well, I shouldn't say this because I'm getting paid by CCP to go to Iceland, but I'm going to anyway. Like, the problem has usually been like the cadence of making changes, right? Is that CCP is moving too slow, right, on any of this. Like, if they wanted to change how many people and how often you could go through Zarzak on a timer, I mean, they could have done so at any point between when Insurgency released and now, because it's been like, what, how many months since that dropped? I mean, let's see how it plays out. Yeah, it's been a while. Like, I would like to see them try this like every few months and, you know, just let things play instead of being so like passive and just letting it go on for, you know, a year.
CCP's got this strategy where they're reactionary. They're reacting to events and inputs, but they're doing it so slowly that by the time the change happens, we're no longer going, "Oh, thank you for doing that." We're going, "Fuck, that took you so long to do that. We have been screaming about this for months and months and months and months, and you only just did it now. What else are you doing?"
I think
several groups are dead because of it. A bunch of people have quit the game.
Yeah, I think fundamentally there's an issue of a fear of kind of misunderstanding the further implications of changes, and then being too not wanting to knee jerk a change instantly, because that makes it look like you don't know what you're doing.
I mean, I sympathize that EVE players are one of the hardest player
I
bases
mean,
to
EVE is also a
satisfy.
complicated game, right? If you don't play the game very much and you're actually doing your job working on the game, like, it's hard to fully understand the like second, third, and fourth level implications of changes that you make. Because if you change one thing, right, you add a new mechanic you think is going to be localized. There's like a 99%
we have a
chance
function for that already, though, Sven, which is the CSM who came out against
the CSM
system. Right, but when like CSM is meant to be a sounding board, right? Like, we know it's not a panel where you get elected and then you throw your ideas at CCP and they implement them. It's a board where CCP takes ideas to and goes, "Hey, we have this fucking idea." Yeah, and but if the people on the CSM will go, "That seems like a sussy idea. We don't know. We don't think that's a good idea," and you go ahead with it anyway. Surely, when the rest of the player base kicks off, you're like, "Oh, maybe this wasn't such a good idea."
Yeah,
and you
so
aim to fix it sooner.
Before I make this a huge thing about like the CSM and CCP, I mean, I was just doing a Google like days in between. So it's been Havoc was November 14th, 2023. It's been 302 days since then. So it's been 10 months. Like, there is an in between place. Like, people will go say, well, you don't want CCP to be too reactionary. It's like, okay, I get that, but that's basically the like, what is it, kind of like the fallacy of like false equivalency, or, you know, intermediate kind of in betweens, right? It's like, yeah, the problem is now that it's been 10 months. Like, you have LB and probably no one else living there because there's never been any reason really to do so.
There's
because
dozens
it's
of
been 10
us.
months. There's dozens of you, man, dozens of you guys. I'm glad that you and the dozens of other people are thriving there, but like, obviously, it wasn't working from the jump.
That's the problem in my mind, is that only dozens of people are interacting with the content. Like, it should
it's
be
not dozens
more...
of people interacting with the content. It's dozens of people living in Zarzak.
That's
Look,
what I mean.
I'm just gonna say, I think the idea of living in Zarzak is fundamentally flawed purely due to the reason that you can just jump freight stuff from Jita to the war zone way easier than it is to DST it in. That alone would makes it that I never want to live in Zarzak, even if I was like fully engaged with the pirate stuff. Like I would stage in a spot that's like pretty central, somewhere close to maybe a more regional market. Like heck, like live in fucking Amamake, right? Like you're pretty close to a little regional market, but you're also very close to Jita in terms of jump freighter mids. Like, why would you take the time to DST potentially dying on the gate stuff into Zarzak to then take a shipcaster that takes 2 extra minutes when you could spend those 2 minutes just gating and be there in the same time?
I mean,
I don't know.
ideally, what they would have done is there would have been more things you could ship cast to, right? And that they would have made the reward in terms of like pirate LP and other unique rewards, right? I mean, for example, you take like think of certain pirate faction warfare ships, right? There used to be a meme way back in the day of like, oh, we're gonna go into a Mar faction warfare and farm out like APOC navies, right? Because the only LP that dropped the I cannot talk, the blueprints for a Mar faction warfare used to be in a Mar faction warfare LP. So I mean, if you make unique, distinct rewards where it's like, hey, there's this really new cool thing that's fucking awesome, and you can only get it by engaging with this space, right? And you make the reward good enough where it's like, hey, yes, there's a downside of maybe I get fucking owned bringing my stuff in here, but there's the upside of getting like this new, blueprint or this new ship or this new asset or resource that you can only get from being engaged in a pirate faction, and staging out of Zarzak to do that would make it so it's worth it.
I mean,
That's the idea.
But
Well, the Asriel?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get for being an Angels, or the Komodo if you're Galante, or not, Aresta. I mean, like, it's
Yeah,
like Zarzak. Like Zarzak wasn't supposed to, like, from what CCP I guess we're doing, isn't supposed to be like a mission or like a actual place where you sit and play. It's just a hub that lets you go to the other places, which is what it still does for those people.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be like a Babylon 5, right? For people to fuck off and do other things, right? But I'm saying that the fact that you lived on the Babylon 5, right, should have given you unique access to other things that were worth it. My point being is that clearly the reward for living there wasn't enough for anyone other than LB and the dozens of other people who live there to do it.
I mean, I think the reason for that is they didn't have Angels and Garissa don't have the same downsides that Galente or the other factions do, right? Where you can't dock on certain stations if it's not a certain type of, or like if it's not a front line. So like a Galente can't dock in a Kaldari rear guard, right? Where Angels and Grista can dock in any station and faction warfare low sec regardless of the status of that system. If you had it that other way, that like Angels and Grista couldn't dock in those stations and had to stay in the fob or had to stage out of Zarzak, then you would get that real incentive for those groups to live there. But they didn't implement that stick, so you don't get that. They gave Angels and Grista like essentially just too much, and that's why you don't have that. Rather than there not being enough benefits when there are clear benefits there, and the pretty cool stuff on their LP stores as it is.
So you're saying the benefit is good enough?
I think Zarzak's good enough, right? The groups are just giving the benefit if they can just dock wherever they want in faction warfare space, which is a carrot that the other groups in faction warfare have to deal with that Angels and Grista don't.
But so you guys don't think that any kind of like changes could be made to the system itself to put sites for things that people could actually do in Zarzak? So not only are you using the shipcaster, but you're going, out in space to do things.
Like what?
Like I don't know, ratting sites. You group up with other people and you go do these sites. Like they require.
The whole point of the insurgency was that it
like
was
flashpoints and posh.
It was. I mean, the whole point of the insurgency and Havoc as a whole was to get a basically third party on the faction warfare areas.
Because that's their big boost.
They've been kicking ass for 10 months. So what do they get for it? Why not give them some
Money.
upgrades, right?
They get
Money.
Azraels and Komodos.
They get a bunch of money.
Whatever.
Well, they
Well,
are
that's a
getting
lot
that.
of money.
The faction, the farmers are getting that with their new accounts. But yes,
I mean, like
in theory,
the farmers are just the PvPers times 10 because those people have more accounts, right? The PvPers can get that stuff as well. They just
Oh,
don't
you be
really
careful
use
saying that. You're gonna trigger a lot of people.
Yeah, but like those same people are like Atron Andes, and who fucking cares?
I care.
I mean,
about
if
it.
they're,
What do you
I'm
mean?
sure there's comps that they could fly in multi-box to go fight the other multi-boxers and get PvP out of it. Like, I don't know.
99% of people don't want to fight other multi-boxers with their multi-box fleet. They always look down on multi-boxing, and I can somewhat agree with it / sympathize with that level.
But like that's just EVE Online, right? That's just something you're not really changing unless you introduce like weird fucking mechanics.
No,
that
it's a
destroy
similar thing as to where I don't blame goons in it for coming to ruin a fight that is accessible to them because of the game mechanics. The same way as I wouldn't blame multi-boxers for doing it because they've been incentivized to get more accounts because based on the activities that are available in the game. You do better by yourself.
We are 20 years late on changing the concept of multi-boxing.
Yeah, the genie's not coming out of the bottle.
Right.
You can
yeah, no.
design content to make multi-boxing more difficult, right?
And
For example,
they've done it very recently.
Yeah.
The new sites that are spawning in Alsavoinen, they were a headache. I could do the sites. I enjoyed doing them because
fucking hard.
Holy crap, CCP did a great job in making it really difficult to multi-box. It pushed what I know and what knowledge I have from doing Pochfin for a year and a bit to the very limit. And even then, I can't do all the 3 main steps that they want you to do. I definitely can't get the officer mods because I am on 5 Logi trying to rep 4 individual targets while another 3 are getting neutered. And I'm trying to kill waves and kill the shield at the same time and deposit the little drone chip in waves 2, 5, and 8.
It's the best PvE they've ever made in the game.
Yeah,
it's
someone
challenging.
Needs a raise.
It's actually
Someone needs
challenging.
a raise.
It's crazy.
I gave up. I enjoyed it, but I gave up after 2 days.
Are you telling me that you're not like a GM on like the StarCraft ladder?
Well, I mean, he's the equivalent in EVE at multi-boxing. I'd say Khan's just like across the board has definitely top 5 micro. I mean, at least in the area that he fights in.
That's not a flex, dude. That's not a fucking flex.
That's he
What do you
wasn't saying
mean?
that as a flex. I don't flex on people with that. That's
Well,
just
no,
how
but
I enjoy the game now.
He's not flexing at all. I'm saying that he is good at the game.
He's not flexing for me. He's just explaining
what are you
why
talking
he
about?
mentioned.
Anyway, I'm saying it to put into context about that the sites disincentivize multi-boxing, so they're good.
It's good for 2 or 3 people, and I've seen Snuff run it, and I don't know how Snuff is enjoying it in terms of farming the officer modules. That's the reason that I wanted to do it. I wanted to try these officer modules without haggling for price, and I went and I theory crafted for hours after I completely failed the first time. And I spent the entire night doing it, and it was genuinely really enjoyable. So, if anyone
Can I just clarify real quick what sites you're talking about?
The
Drifter sites.
The Drifter sites.
The new Drifter
in
site. Okay.
Alsavoinen, the Cursed one, and Venal one.
That's what I was curious about.
I definitely encourage small groups, and you're probably going to get pushed in by other Snuff or Big Ab. I know Snuff is turbo running them, Big Ab not so much, and a couple other people in Chisaco. There are very good sites.
So do you think something like this should stick around for the long term?
Absolutely. And use this model for other sites.
And what about like having these sites within Zarzak itself?
Like
why?
Why?
I don't know. Why not? Why not?
Who cares about Zarzak? I don't think it needs to be anything more than it already is.
Okay, we can't say who cares about Zarzak.
There's gotta
someone in here.
Who cares about giving additional benefits to Zarzak that don't
there's gotta be a story progression goes with it.
I mean that's what. Do you read the fucking patch notes?
Okay,
I do, yes.
You can't say that. Look at your EVE Online email. You have a big email set called Zarzak is under attack.
That's not what I mean. I mean a progression within this, like something happening to it to where there's a siege is not what I mean. I mean like it gets upgraded. But anyways, we're talking about the sites.
Pochvin was like that. Pochvin had a story behind it, and CCP's just dumped it in the bin and gone, we're not doing that.
They should retroactively take these sites and apply them to Pochvin.
100%. And this would
make them like
ruin
5 times more harder.
this would ruin what I would know as multi-boxing, and I encourage it. It would bring human fleets back 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And it
yeah,
would ruin.
100%.
I could probably still do it, and Sven could probably still do it, but it would force us to completely change the way we play, and we would probably still get dumpstered by human fleets.
The
Not
thing
like
is, as
now.
well, we would probably need to run comps specifically made to run the sites that are much worse at PvP. Because right now, everybody just runs PvP fits that you crab in the PvP fits.
Yeah.
If you need to run some, because of the limitations of multi-boxing, if you need to now run some weird comp that has like it's like super fragile with like cap chains and like
And I need to rep 4
weird
different
remote rep
targets.
setups, right? That is going to be much less effective at than fighting an actual human fleet who, with a very standard PvP comp, like let's say like Nighthawks and Guardian Lodge or Nighthawks and Bassi Logi, can completely do this easy because I don't know, repping 4 different targets as like a single boxing dude is not hard at all.
And dealing with cap and 2 different targets that are on timers. And you can't take it's battle cruisers and down only.
Yeah.
And NPC smart bomb.
Yep.
I haven't had that yet. I haven't had that
That's
yet.
neat.
My drones have never died or anything like that. That's something I've not seen yet. I think this one has slipped under a lot of people's like minds. They haven't
Because
quite
it's hard.
realized this is a gem of a gameplay. Like CCP can't just go, oh cool, nice sites, and then make this like event based, and we never do this again.
The only thing I think they've done as good as this is the winter event.
Yeah, and the Halloween event with the sites. Like,
I mean, those weren't super engaging. Those were super good for content, though, which was nice.
But it's the way they are, they make the game really engaging.
Yeah. No, I like. I think stuff like this. So imagine in nullsec, for example, there are sites like this that you and your buddies form up for and like go run. Like, and then there'd be meta around ganking the fleets that are running these because they're set up to do one thing and you're going in to go kill them, right? Like stuff like that. This is where the emergent gameplay that CCP seems to really enjoy with Pochvin of the counterplay of the people that are going into running the sites versus the people that are there to kill those people, and then the people contesting each other over sites is really interesting. And I think they tried to get a bit of that with the pirate insurgencies, where you'd kind of be running PvPvE sort of thing because you're in a PvP area. The problem is the sites weren't hard enough to have anything other than just straight easy low skill farming, which none of those people are going to try and like push someone out unless they have overwhelming numbers, right? Because the incentive isn't there. But maybe with these sites, like I don't know, I think it can be potentially much more engaging.
I don't think it's being talked about enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's
like I
pretty
said, it's
limited
slipped
right
under
now.
the rug. People are
in the
going like, "Oh, these
systems.
sites are cool. Offer some mods," and then that's where the conversation ends. When no one's talking until now. No one has talked about, holy crap, this new way of doing PvE/PvP. This is pretty cool. This is new. This is challenging. What the hell is this?
So
and you don't get the classic multi-boxer comment. Even though I can do the sites, I can't do them properly, and I don't quite enjoy it. It's so challenging on the brain. If someone slid into me, I would die.
So the point, I think, again, this is gonna be annoying, but like Albion did and kind of does do this, where they have sites that are out in space that are incredibly rewarding, but you can choose to run them one of 2 ways, right? Is you can choose to either bring basically a PvP fit, where you are going to be much more, capable of dealing with people who roam into you, or you can choose to do it PvE, sorry, and you're just going to farm out, the site. But if you get engaged on by anyone, good fucking luck, because you're going to eat shit. So basically, again, there's a trade-off. And I'm happy that CCP, after 20 years, seem to have, kind of got some balance with that, with these sites, where they really are that hard. Because I was watching Khan do it, and I'm like, oh, these are actually properly stressful.
Like, I'm on wave 6. I have 5 Guardians after initially starting with 3. This is a site designed for 10, and I'm using 15 characters, so I'm already breaking the quote-unquote rules. And I'm still struggling. So, in essence, in general, the sites were a great addition. I just don't think people are really going to take note and fully realize that this is like a hidden gem. They can use this now as a platform/template for all the other content that they have in the pipeline for years
No,
to come.
I guarantee you their QA
Oh.
people are in fact watching like how many people are engaging with it and how they're going to engage like with it and what ships. I can tell you that they're doing that 100%.
I think my one concern for this is that you're going to have the bad yapping that these are too hard.
Well, that was going to be my question: is do you think that this is something that they should go and apply retroactively to old content, or just reserve for like new?
So I
for
think
now reserved for new.
Real quick, I think this speaks to kind of a fundamental thing that people don't really like talking about. The skill ceiling and skill floor of this game are massive, absolutely gigantic. The amount of difference, like in effectiveness, that someone who is really good at the game versus someone who's really bad is way greater than I think in any other game that I play.
That's nowhere near true.
I mean, like just in terms of game knowledge and in terms of like in terms of like, I mean, I'm looking at it through the lens of like Patron, because that's what I do. But in terms of the PvE stuff and the difficulty of these sites, like there's content that some people can solo box barely, and there's that at the same time people can run the whole thing themselves. I don't know, like it's tricky. So I don't think that this direct like level of engagement and level of difficulty should be retroactively or like applied going forward on everything. But on high end content, I 100% think that it should be like an actual challenge in the game.
I mean, the real issue with all the legacy content is that it's basically been trivialized by like either power or module or SP creep or a combination of all three of them. Like incursion sites are a fucking joke, but if you go back to like what 2007, 2008 when they were initially like introduced, like even then they were relatively, I want to say, dated as far as like MMO, like PvE like engagement, right? They weren't even really that current, even like close to 15 years ago. Point being is that now they seem to have found a balance where you're really having to go in with like very expensive fits that do certain things very, very well in order to actually engage with the content and not just completely get shit on doing it. And I think that's good. It's refreshing. It's been badly needed for some time.
100%.
Also, do you think that they're so I guess like I'm focusing on like the legacy content, right? So do you think any changes should be made to it?
I think
any update?
I think as they're adding more stuff like
That
this, if they add more stuff like the new stuff and it has high payouts and it has like the higher payouts, I think you need to go back and retroactively nerf all the payouts of the old stuff.
Nerf?
Yeah.
Why would you nerf it?
Or high sec incursion shouldn't make as much money as they do. Haven H-Star Ratting shouldn't make as much money as it do.
Okay.
Hold
Hold on.
Ishtar
do not
completely
say
fine.
nerf Ishtar Ratting.
It makes-
Ishtar Ratting has had enough. All right.
It makes like 65, 70 mil an hour.
God.
Well,
and it's completely AFK.
I don't. Here's the thing.
It's
I
not
don't
completely
care.
AFK.
That
You
amount
get
of-
killed by
that amount of-
someone in neon or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, here's the point that Nada's, I guess, making, and I'll make the counterpoint. Steelman my own argument. Nada is right in that like there shouldn't be gameplay where you're literally like AFK and you can go like asleep. But I mean, the other point that he's making is the content is so fucking easy that like EVE Online is by far one of the easiest games to make a bot for because the content hasn't changed in forever and the systems are just fundamentally not that complicated. Right, a lot of this stuff is like literally like baby's first like coding project tier difficulty.
I mean the gameplay sandbox for PvE isn't
very shallow.
Yeah, there's I don't think there's enough tools in the toolkit to
I mean,
make
they've tried
both
to make them.
accessible and engaging content.
I mean, the new stuff.
Is
They
not
have
super accessible.
they've tried with like different
But
forms
it's
of
very engaging. I think it's cool.
like AI to make it more difficult. Like drifters and other things were like an attempt at that. They just didn't work. I'm thinking they've tried, they just haven't succeeded.
Yeah.
But with these drifter sites, have succeeded. That it wasn't accessible?
I mean, it will be eventually when like the meta for it gets worked out, but it's on development stage. But it is also that like you have to have your what's a budget, and also the big caveat added to being being accessible or whatever is that it's in null-sec and low-sec in fairly active areas that have people living, so there is a risk of PvP. Unlike if this is like warfront space, right? Like this stuff would be a lot more for piss stick because you could just have piss taking fits, but you need pits that are like somewhat equipped to fight.
The other real answer is that for certain of the sites to actually really have the risk reward for like very high end stuff, you have to create some sort of a system where there's probably limited intel. Doesn't necessarily have to be like probably like a no local system. As much as I hate to give wormholers credit for anything ever,
You don't have to. You don't have to give them.
So, blackout.
Don't say blackout.
No, not for
No
everything.
blackout
Like
here.
localized for certain for like certain systems or for certain instances where you're actually doing that high end like of high end PvP. Yeah, like there's a reason that some of this like stuff is occurring like in the regions that it is. Right, they're connected to like areas where you can get rolled up on. I don't want people doing like giga, payout sites in like the ass end of like 0.9 true sec. We don't need, or -9 true sec. We don't need that. It needs to be again risk with reward.
Well, they were talking about localized sort of blackout for like attached to iHubs and that sort of shit for ages. What if they're like the high end content, the PvE content, forced blackout in that system? Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, temporarily, it doesn't have to be permanent, but again, some sort of system where that's not really again super gameable by either having like intel bots everywhere. Like you have to basically design, your systems kind of in the scenario of like what is like the way it could be exploited, the most.
I
At
mean,
like the
there's
QA
a
level.
reason Potchman came in the way it did with no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
If
like
Potch had local, a lot
wouldn't
fewer
work. It
people
wouldn't
would die.
work.
I mean,
What'd
it
you say,
would
Sven?
still. If Potchman had local, a lot fewer people would die. There'd be a lot less like fighting. It'd be a lot easier to like avoid
Yes
people.
and no.
You would.
CCTV makes it so that you know who's around at all times.
You wouldn't need CCTV at that point because you would just have like people next to you. You'd have it just purely for the convenience of finding the flashpoints.
I think yes on a basic level, but not really with the way CCTV works for Potchman.
Potchman's also a bit of a field experiment at this point.
It's a field experiment that they were like, okay, let's make a brand new region with aliens. Oh, okay, let's drop this shit. I don't want to deal with this.
That's the other problem that CCP has is like refusing to iterate when they're like 70% there, and then they like someone breaks it or it doesn't work, and then they refuse to like tweak the last 30% of it when they've got a system that's like mostly working. Because you can't really make a dev blogger bring like advertisement in with, oh, we're upgrading Podchvin. It doesn't get the same eyes and the same like visual appeal. That's been their issue always with doing any of that.
They drop the potato when it gets too hot. When any difficulty comes along, they're like, oh, okay, we messed
Oh
up,
my
guys. Let's
God.
just pull the plug.
I have never heard something aptly put in my entire life. Drop the potato when it gets too hot. That was perfect.
But like,
if you had these sites spawning in incursions in the incursion space, is it incursion or is it insurrection? Whatever the fucking call it.
Insurgency.
Insurgency sites, right?
Yeah.
They would get run, and they'd be fighting over them.
there would be
And
a
you
lot
would,
less multi-boxes as well. It would actually be
Yeah.
human to human.
Because like you run these sites in like a blingy, like I don't know, like let's say you're running them in a blingy, I don't know, Tengu fleet, right? Suddenly Snuff sees a Tengu fleet sat in a bubble.
You're
Or
me.
suddenly fucking Big Ab see that there's a min mill with the blue. There's like they see the Mikals out in a Sleipnir fleet in them.
I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool. So, sounds like hopefully, if anyone from Ccp'S, sounds like these sites are dope, and you should keep them around. Put them in the.
Keep their basic mechanics. Don't just copy and paste. We know you like to do that. I'm talking to CCP. We know you like to copy and paste when something's good. Just take find the guy, okay, or girl, who came up with the idea and decided to go with it by stealing it from Albion or whatever it is, and just go, okay, we iterate this into other things that we have in the pipeline in 2025, 2026. We just mold it into what we have ready. Just take that basic idea.
As long as they break it down to the parts that, why did this work and that sort of stuff, and then make new content based off that. Because it's more than just like the physical things in the site and the way that things happen.
But you asked the question, Redline, where you said, should they iterate this into new content or put it into the old one? They are never going to put it into the old one. Maybe
Well,
it'd be
someone,
so much effort.
I forget who it was, but someone said they could put these mechanics into flashpoints. Poshfin.
It upset one. It'll upset too many people. Two.
Well, all 6 of them can fucking deal with it, right?
There's 7. There's actually 7.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
Okay, intriguing because one of them got banned from RMT and doxing someone.
Yeah, what did the Russians get?
But they're back anyway. It's fine. They're back to playing. It didn't take long. It upset all of 6 people. That's the less prevalent part. It's the effort it takes for them to dismantle the code and then implement it back in.
We just copy and paste. Copy and paste. Copy the sites from one to the other.
Someone like me,
copy the dread, add the dread. Boom. Got a beacon. Ooh, add a beacon. There you go.
It was as easy as that.
Yeah,
I know, right?
I'm not a
was.
coder, and I know that that's not fucking simple.
But they did it, right? They did it once. They created the flashpoints. They can just simply recreate the flashpoints.
I think they should leave the flashpoints as they are, but they should have done what they did at the start, which was cut the payout in half and then make a new site which has that same flashpoint payout as it is now, but with the new mechanic.
Okay, there are some things in Eve that are as simple as using an update sequence, like command in a SQL database. This is not one of them.
And I'm not saying it should be. I'm saying that is it worth the effort, right? Because so here's my thing, and I kind of cringe at multi-boxing. Not that I don't respect the fact that you have so many accounts, because how great. But I cringe at it because it doesn't involve more than one real person. So I like things that bring people together. That's why I campaign for, making Zarzak better, is because I want people to go to Zarzak, have a reason to go there, maybe have like a market there where pirates get discounts. So it encourages people to build things in Zarzak from metals they can get in Zarzak and sell things there. But also the same thing with Poshfin is that I would want more people in Poshfin, than just 6 or 7, depending on who is or isn't banned for RMTing, multi-boxers in the region making all of the money, trillions of ISK between a dozen or less people. That's insane to me.
What do you have against Holisakate, making all that money?
Those of us who don't sell the ISK to fund our rent or our car payments and care about the region also want the same thing. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me. I would, in a heartbeat, and I have said this to CCP, and I said this at the Pochman Roundtable, I will ditch my entire gameplay, and I will support wholeheartedly, put my entire weight behind making the region go back to normal fleets of, what was it, 2 years ago, Gavin, now? The last time?
Like a year and a bit.
A year and a bit. Okay, so a year and a bit ago when you had Sip Squad, Volta, Proxy in row, and I was on those bark fleets. Lucy Lou.
Some Horde.
Big fan.
I can't remember any other groups off the top of my head. I'm sorry if I didn't mention. That is the Pochman that we all want. It doesn't matter if I'm a multi-boxing or not.
Originally, it was like Wormhole Heavy Armor Brawls. Just you're also making.
Sick.
Yeah, it's cool. It was really fun.
Yeah, that content can get stale, but they weren't just doing heavy armor balls. Someone would come in with a shield torpedo Bargus doctrine, fucking Praxis doctrine.
That sounds fun.
Mega navies, Hyperions. Hydra doing
Yeah, so I
Vicarious.
mean, I remember before they did the initial nerf for Poshvin, like, we
If-
used to run Poshvin fleets with Pittsburgh all the time. We would run the Ikiturses, and we would run into so many different, just random fucking groups of people coming in and out of Poshvin, doing sites or trying to find people to kill and shit. And it sounds like you don't see that as much anymore, which is a
No,
shame.
not at all. There's nothing. There's nothing like that.
And
So
and I
it's-
think
it's-
that there
it's
should be
two-
changes
two
that make it
aspects,
so
right?
that more people come to the region. I am
There's-
not on team Not a Red. Not a Red wants to nerf everything. I don't want to nerf anything ever because power creep is my favorite thing, and I'm being genuine about that. I love power creep. It's amazing.
It does become an important part of game development at some point.
They should power creep capitals back into the meta.
They should, yes, they should.
They should revert all three of the fax nerfs and revert surgical strike.
Yep.
Yes,
that's the
they
only way.
should.
That's the only way you're ever going to see Titan.
Like
play
the fact that
that Arsenal for big up.
Yeah, the fact. I mean, and we only drop it because the size of the fights and the intel on who's around us is a lot easier to deal with. But like, when was the last time that the big blocks used their supers in any sort of like
risky way?
Well,
risky way at all.
Frat dropped supers the other day, so I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
On what? On what?
Hey,
Five
hey,
nags?
they dropped them. They dropped them. Come on,
like
man.
saying, it's
We
like
dropped
saying,
them on 150 dreads and Turner at 50.
Well, that's
it's
silly
It's like saying
for
goons
one,
used,
but
goons
well
use
done.
supers to burn the entire of the horde deployment. When goons turned around and finally went, all right, we're deploying, put the keepstar down, use supers. It's the same story. The horde and goons dancing. Horde projects in, goons stay back, goons over project, use their supers to burn everything, burn themselves out doing it, go
And then
back
Horde
to
pushes back
delve,
in.
and then
It's
horde just replaces everything that they killed.
Oh my god, I don't know how many times I've seen that that episode on TV before.
Like
That's never happened
My
before.
favorite part's when the keepstar dies.
And they like
And-
smoke.
Oh, and then
Right.
everyone gives up way too early. Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
one.
That was kind of fucked up, by the way, because for weeks they were in this Discord server talking about how they weren't getting fights, and then the fight showed up, and then everyone left. I didn't understand it.
Well, it's by fights they don't mean, oh, we're gonna lose.
Why were they gonna lose? Fucking deploy your super fleet. Go balls to the wall for it. Why
It's too
not?
expensive to replace
It's
right now,
never
but,
worth it. It's never
okay,
worth it.
It's too
And
expensive
see,
to replace.
that's psychology right there.
Five
That
Titans are a
90% of the
trillion
problems
if-
with EVE Online are psychology of the players.
No,
It's not psychology.
it's not.
They're-
Absolutely.
They're not
These
good.
blocks have the ability to replace the supers if used, but they don't want to because it's going to cost them trillions.
It's not
And then-
worth it. They're not getting trillions out of it. If they
they'll
put
wait.
that money into more dread pilots, they would like. All right, picture this, Redline. Right, goons somehow grow a pair and use their supers and titans in space that is near a fully deployed horde and PandaFam. Right. If all PandaFam do is if they take the money that they would have to pay in SRP for a Super Cat Brawl and put all those characters and ISK into Dreads, they would win by such a large margin it's not even funny. On ISK, on objective, on morale, on everything. The power curve at those higher levels, it goes up, and then it's a flat line where it goes like just straight down.
And that's including the buff to DDs. That's including the buff to DDs. It still didn't do anything.
The DD buff, all it does is let people like who are already gonna win the fight win harder. Like you're only dropping supers and titans if you're gonna win the fight.
In other words, it's the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals to use them right now. It's an economics problem just as much as it's a psychology problem.
Like when fucking our drone or region federation got all their supers and titans burned by fucking what do you call them?
Which- Oh,
like
it's every
it
time.
was it CTAC-L or something like that, CTAC-T on that gate. That costs like far less than a fire like they lost the game when they were fire and KFR. And one was like a fuck ton more supers and titans dying than fucking KFR.
And the supers and titans were much better. They did more. They applied the
could be wrecked.
subcaps. They could
No,
be
the
repped.
big thing is
They
you
could
can
be
rep them.
saved.
You can't
What?
rep Ccp'S and Titans. After like fucking 20 dreads or something,
It's
every dread is that's it.
it's
the
like
maximum deflection
30 with a faction Titan. It's like 36 or some shit like that.
And that's
That you can't rep. You could have 1 trillion faxes on grid, all heating, all full Concord reps.
And you're going down.
30
I'm like
dreads, and
that's
they do
like,
nothing.
And that's 400. Like that's 400 fucking hurricanes. Does that to a Super and Titan?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's not good. And the worst part is, I mean, first of all, it doesn't the graphs that they put in the patch notes in the dev blog when they made this change don't actually line up with what happens in game due to rounding errors with non-full tick cycle times of remote reps. So it's actually worse. Like currently, if you put a bunch of small reps on a Roke and you rep something that's already near the limit, the HP per second goes down by putting small reps on a fucking like if you're dread bombing real fucking hard, it's unironically worth it to drop like a couple 8 high slot anything. Like you could put fucking cormorants with a bunch of small reps, like Tech 1 small reps, and you lower the EHP per second. I don't know. Like what really should have happened with Lancers is Lancers should have applied stacking fatigue or stacking penalties to fax or to fax reps or just reps in general.
Exactly. That's
Instead
what I
of
thought.
cutting down what they currently do. In their current form, I think like they have no place because supers and titans aren't getting repped anyway, so it's kind of pointless to drop it. You might as well put it in a dread that's half the cost and does twice the damage.
Plus, they'll be good against if you're like maybe if you're shooting carriers or something like that, but maybe just supers. That's like the only use case you could think of to actually use them. I
Oh,
don't even need them at that point.
the only supers that are good right now and are pog as fuck are nano supers. Those will always stay relevant, but like no one has the balls
Not
or
even though.
It's
wherewithal
not
to do
even
it.
relevant now, to be honest.
Like for example, if you drop on a crab beacon dread and you warp to your perch, there's a good chance that your fighters just instantly get chewed and you can't break the dread anymore because you've lost
Oh man, like you can't
75%
like a
of your
single
fighters.
nano super can't break a properly fit dread.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Not with the introduction of the Navy dreads.
Yeah, like shooting or in the fucking PNI and a dread or a fucking super is a humbling experience.
What was the guy? I am tired. He's the one that does the rag memes alongside. You would know also crack it. They need his rag. A hyper super will drop on the PNI, and they need his rag as well to DD volley him, because a single hyper super will not kill a dread.
And the worst part is everyone's on pre-set up grids with a fucking fort on
Oops.
grid, and they're Sino at a perch, and they're all full tank rigs and pods because
And
there's
that super costs 60 build to replace starting at the hull, and there's
Insane.
fucking what do you call those things? Mobile
Mobos.
Yeah.
Mobile observatories should, like, in my opinion at least, not have a this is what I was talking about, by the way, when I said that CCP sometimes doesn't understand the like secondary and tertiary effects of the changes that they make. Like, yes, I think a bunch of bombers with covert sinos blanketing an entire region that cloak up at downtime and you can't remove them from your space at all is really not fun gameplay at all.
They're
Especially
the
if,
least affected by mobos.
but they're least affected by the mobos because first of all, half the people that run them
automate.
Hey, hold on
it,
a second. You haven't
and
seen
the
the
other half,
Ccp'S that Frat use.
But like, you don't actually have to do anything outside the EULA to know when you're like, if you're at the keyboard, like monitoring your bombers, right, and you're botting anyway, right? Like, just say you're doing
have
it,
it
doing all
beep at you
legitimate,
with
you
the
have 200.
logs.
Yeah, you just have the logs, and you have a Python script that just reads your logs, and it's like you've been decloaked.
You could even
you
have the
tab that
Python
screen, you
script.
hit fucking 5 or whatever your cloak's on. There you go, you're done.
Yeah, you could have it like flash a key on your keyboard that tabs you into the account. Like it's
You could have it
trivial.
Fucking screen
Trivial.
max.
We knew that when that Ccp'S that Frat use were, and I don't think he uses the script anymore when they're hunting in Delve, but at least when he was in Fade, Declan, and Pureblind, he did have a script that warped him to a safe every time he got decloaked and warped him back and cloaked. That was proven by the worst of all people involved. Like he found that out because he just had the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word autism. He had the commitment.
Dedication.
He had the
He had nothing
dedication.
better to do.
He had nothing better
Yeah.
to do than sit there for days on end and find out that this guy, the CCTV guy, used
CCP, yeah.
botting script. The
CCP literally wrote half of the bot for them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think didn't the guy end up scanning out where the guy warped to eventually?
Yes. Yeah, and it was the
They
same.
just
And
they keep
But
on walking back to the same
if the
spot.
bot script was good, it would cloak and warp. It would decloak and recloak while warping, and there is literally nothing you can do about that.
I don't
in
know
terms
if
of-
we should give tips on making
Yeah,
bots
like,
better.
anyone
live on
who's covering
stream.
anyone who's covering a region in accounts like this that has like already decided that they're gonna start cheating at the game is gonna look at this is trivial to think about. Like
Yeah, that's so simple to
absolutely
bypass that.
child's play. Like it's I don't know. Like it sounds complex because you've never like sat down and thought about it, but that's because you don't have a vested interest in like
It just
that area
turns
of the
into a
game.
challenge. It's no different to any other challenge in Eve, right? But
Oh.
this time you're dodging the rules.
So, I mean, just to give you an insight as far as like my insight into botting, World of Warcraft, Diablo, avid botter. That's me, guilty as charged. And he's absolutely right. It just becomes a challenge, something to overcome for the bot writers. Adding complexity is silly.
I don't know.
Yeah, buff supers, buff titans, buff facts.
Bingo.
Reduce their build cost by like a third.
Buff
I mean,
everything.
I
Power
think
creep the shit out of it. That's the only way to
you
fix it.
revert it to what it was before. So
Make it worth
the
the money it costs
fundamental
to take
issue there are a couple of fundamental issues with the capital ecosystem. Broadly is one of the things that encourages cap usage at all levels, like dreads, facts, supers, carriers, titans, is capital ships being out in space, because capital ships being out in space crabbing are very easily killed by other capital ships that are dropped on them. But if you don't have those ships out in space in the first place, you're not dropping a dread to kill a marauder.
Right.
And
I think
if
that's
it opens up the whole chain, right? Like the only time you should realistically be dropping titans in a response fleet is when there's a bunch of dreads on grid that you got to clear quickly, because that's what titans are good at, right? But no dreads are being dropped, except for maybe like 3, right? And you don't need to risk a titan for that. You can just drop your blops response fleet or
Right.
supers, but even
And
that's becoming more rare.
The thing is I think one of the fundamental problems though is that you're right, the caps just they aren't in space like crab beacons helped a little bit, but
They did not.
I mean,
nothing
the way that they're deployed for sure does not help, but I mean they have resulted in more cap kills. You can't say that they haven't.
But it's not any sort of good gameplay. It's literally take 100 redeemers and drop them on a PNI.
And the
It's free
response
kill
is
mills, dude.
another
It's free
100
kill mills.
redeemers.
Interference is the stupidest thing I can think of.
But the thing
You want capital
is
space?
the thing
Crab
is
beacons
that
are
putting them
what I would come up with on the spot during a job interview on go, how do you fix capitals in space?
Amazing.
Beacon that you link to.
Yeah, and so I think you're right. You want to bring those caps back into space because that's the beginning of the whole escalation. Like that's your goal as a little baby nullsecker. You start out with your Ishtar, you work your way to your carrier, then you get your super carrier, and then your goal is to be like the buddies in your alliance with your titans and shit like that. The problem is that the only way to fix that is to buff nullsec to the point where it's worth using those ships in that space. And every time someone says buff nullsec, someone starts screaming.
No,
every
they
time.
should look. They should 100% put super carriers back in green sites. That was the best, most healthy thing we had for like super gameplay.
Redline. The sites didn't used to make like crazy, like the site payout wasn't 4 times as much as it was back then. or like 4 times as much back then when people were in supers.
No,
Supers were cheaper.
supers were cheaper,
and
and
better.
I do believe that the payouts were higher.
They applied better, so you made more money there. You got a super tick back then. A good one was like 200, 250 mil if you're running hypers.
Yeah. So like you could make $1 bill an hour in supers if you were doing a lot of sites and you were just like hardcore grinding, not losing fighters like an idiot.
And that's also
you could make $1 bill an hour. And
Yeah,
that kind
that's
of
fine.
that kind of lucrative money is no longer available in nullsec.
crab beacons make $1 bill an hour, but they are completely safe. The peak
Apparently not if all it
efficiency.
takes is a bunch of redeemers to kill it.
Well, that's just the incompetence of the. It,
Yeah, like, it
that's
shouldn't be
that's
dying.
separate reasons. The gameplay isn't engaging at all. It's they're sat there NSA on full tank. So many reasons it's not
Well, that's
engaging
how
at
you
all.
used to do
The-
sanctums, and they weren't
No,
engaging
listen,
sites
listen,
either.
listen.
You would set on a sanctum and NSA up and manage your fighters.
You
That
could
was
warp
the
with
goal.
NSA. Do you know what you fit? You fit hypers, you fit damage, and you fit application.
Did not.
You had
Absolutely
no tank.
not.
Yes, you did.
Or if
No,
you didn't, you were
it
Then you
making
made less
depends.
money.
500
Then
Yeah,
you
mil
made
an
less
hour.
money.
you make less money, but you survive. Like my super never had.
That's the
I never
trade-off
had
that
hyper
we're, That's the
rigs.
trade-off we're asking for.
Yeah,
That is
crab beacons
exactly.
don't
It
make
exists.
that. Crab
It will.
beacons
It
no,
doesn't.
Yes,
crab
crab.
beacons do
That's
not make that.
yes. Crab beacons have no. There's no trade-offs. If you fit,
You're
you
right.
fit
I
a
think
little
crab
bit of
beacons are
damage
flawed.
that you can just instantly refit because you have a mobile depot out already
Yeah,
on the
you
site
also
with
have
you.
your probes already on it. Your sinos already aligned.
Your sinos, you have bookmarks already set up for inhibs. That's wild. Like having someone like, let's say we take someone from that was really good at hunting from back then and just teleport them, like time jump them forwards, right? Time travel them forwards. They'd lose their mind at how reductive the gameplay has become for
I mean,
hunting
like that's
super
the reason.
capitals.
That's the reason me fucking Vertiso, Tron, and all that don't hunt in fucking nullsec anymore. It's not that fun. Everything's just sat there on a static grid, and you just have the redeemers sat there ready to go.
There's
If
no
you if you
counterplay. There's no like
like
thinking ahead. There's no like watching someone how they like what range they warp at, what time do they go out, when do they warp back to their like POS or Citadel to repair. Like none of this is happening, and all it is do we have enough DPS to kill it before he lights his Sino at 100 and they drop 100 extra redeemers on our 100 redeemers. There's no
yeah,
skill in it. There's no effort.
like we used to do stuff like where we would pre-sino inhib anoms for ratting titans, and we would kill them in Delph under the umbrella because there's an inhib up, and they're getting fucking 10 dreads dropped on them. You
And that
can't
takes
do
skill
shit like
to
that
set that
anymore.
up. Like you need good scouts, you need people who know what they're doing, who are quick. You need
Man, like warping
the right
dictors for
person who's
stuff
an
to get
idiot.
tackled was so much fun. Like when you're Dictor Lounge and you know you've got some guy in a hyper set or a hyper hell, and you know like nothing's saving him anyway.
But what if they made new sites that used some of the features of these new drifter sites that were specifically for like supers and
I think that would.
carriers?
I think because there'd be warp 2 sites that you have to program. I think they probably end up being a bit too safe. I think all you need to do is like just
Well,
put
it's
supers
it's
back in.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be
There's
it's
nothing
gonna
more
be
complicated than that.
it's
You
gonna
don't
be
need more
safe to a
APM.
degree, right?
You
It's
don't
gonna
need
be
more
safe to a
APM, more
degree.
complexity. You don't the drifter sites are good for an entirely different reason. Like
Well,
completely
I
different
mean
reason.
some aspects of it, like not a
You don't need
complete copy.
you don't need any of the it's not relevant at all to what made like hyperspatial supercarriers running green combat anoms good and interesting
Well,
gameplay.
it wasn't interesting gameplay. What do you mean? No, it
Compared to
fucking
now, it's
wasn't.
way more.
Hunting them was
Way more
Okay, okay, but let's be clear
so,
here. The activity of setting your fighters onto
It's
rats
way more
is not
engaging
fun. Why
bombing,
are you
running-
only
bombing the
talking when I'm
wood.
talking? You always
Because
talk
you're
when I'm talking. Shut up! Fuck!
completely wrong.
I'm not completely wrong, you dumb fuck. I was there. I was doing it. I was super ratting my fucking ass off every day. Are you kidding me?
And what do you
And
do
it
with
was
that super now? Run a
nothing.
5 rats spawn every like minute. You kill those 5 rats and then you sit there and you wait.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
compared
not
to that,
engaging. It's not
anoms are
fun.
way more engaging.
No, they're not. It was
There's-
havens, it was
there's-
sanctums. It's still kill NPCs, protect your fighters, otherwise you lose money. Go to the next
There-
site. That's the gameplay loop, and that's
I
fine.
can be proven
It's
wrong,
grindy.
but with supers, I don't think that there is really that much you can do for an activity that is meant for a single player to do whenever they want.
There doesn't
That
have to
is
be.
like
It doesn't have to be engaging gameplay. Just don't say that it is all I'm saying.
I'm
'Cause
saying
it's
it was
not, and it
more
never has
engaging
been.
than it is now. I'd much rather be running
There was more
hyper
decision
super.
made. There was more decision making to be being doing. There was more risk involved in it. Like you had to actually kind of think about like what you were actually doing, or you were just going to get fucking penna for trouble killing you.
And they didn't light up on the fucking map either.
Yeah, that was so.
Yeah,
You
they
could
did
do
not
it.
light up
You
on
could
the
do
map,
it
that's for
in
sure.
space where
Well,
you
dot
didn't
maybe.
have an umbrella, because, I mean, sure you'd show up on deltas, right? But
yeah, people have to put effort into that.
you have to put in effort to do that. It doesn't.
Some
you don't
fucking
press
moron of a
M.
minute can't just see. Oh, there's interference up. Let's go get the geekies.
Right. And I mean,
Delta
and I
could
get
also
that.
be 10-ish
So
stars for adding in a -9.
Yeah.
Or and then like that requires someone to go burn around and look at it. And maybe one day it's 10-ish stars, maybe the next day it's a hyper super. You can't immediately tell that. Like when I open the map and I see interference, I know for a fact that in 99% of cases, if there's an interference up, it's somebody either in a dread or a super with a Sino at 160 in a fleet with 100 redeemers ready to drop.
Yeah, there's a reason like there's many groups in the game that can run fucking beacons for goons, FRT, Init, Horde, Snuff. That's 5. And then I think you think you guys run them, don't you?
I mean, we didn't because of Zarzak.
Yeah, fair. Like, right, big up
Yeah.
to fucking run them. That's
What are
you-
you afraid of Nagas or something?
Don't say you didn't do something because of Zarzak. You didn't do something
That's
because you're a
exactly
little
why
bitch.
we stopped doing them. Are you
You're a little
dumb?
bitch. You're a little coward bitch. That's what it is.
But,
Now
like,
that's my argument.
Like
Cowardice.
those are just stupid. Like it's just like they're
Yeah.
also not that good at this for like how the certainty of death is if someone just gets over the fucking limit.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're totally right. And plus, everything being on the map, the crab beacons are not the move. I don't think so at all. But I think like we were talking about how they're starting to get a better grasp on the mechanics of the sites and like applying some of them retroactively. I mean, maybe it is time to go back through and like actually look at the sites in nullsec space and update them, change them, make them more lucrative, and give supers and carriers a reason to be out in space and doing stuff. Because Fohammer said it in the chat, whaling was the best, and like whaling was my bread and butter back then. That's like what I did
They
all of the
removed,
time.
like they
It was
even removed
fantastic.
Whaling's dead.
like that.
I know whaling is dead, but I want whaling to be alive. And also, they should make the Rorqual a mining ship again.
Like,
As a matter of fact, Rorquals should have a mining boson where they just aim a cone at rocks and it sucks them all up. That's what Rorquals should get. Bring them back out.
Guys.
Rorquals were actually like the last bastion of fucking whaling in the game, and then they just never fucking gutted them and left the one broken thing about them intact.
Panicked.
And
see, that's my problem with
removing all of
nerfing.
them-
I don't think CCP knows how to properly nerf things. I think when CCP nerfs something, they go hammer. They take a giant hammer and they beat the shit out of whatever they want to nerf. When all they really need to do is take a little scalpel, cut out the bad parts, and move on with the rest.
No, but the problem is like.
But I'd love to see how well they do at actually buffing things. Love to see how well they do it.
The last Marauder nerf.
Kanye West, guess we'll never know.
Nerf was really good in terms of like how it affect. Like they.
That's good.
Able to fix the wormhole meta without making Marauders stupid. They let people who actually put effort into trying to kill stuff still kill Marauders, and left them still as a ship you can fly and have fun in.
Yeah, and I think like
honestly,
honestly,
the triple Ansi.
The warp. There should be an Ansel
triple
limit.
Ansel.
But like for example, like I think the warp speed changes. Well, people laugh at it. I think it's all around a good change, like entirely. Like it slows down ones in standing fleets. It makes like warping to a station while aggress a little bit trickier, right? If the warp is short, like
changes nothing on grid though.
No, I
sure
mean,
they
but
react
that
slower.
wasn't entirely the issue of Marauders.
Yeah, but
I'm saying
that's like a
like
difference of like 10 seconds travel between a couple of systems. Depending on the size of the system.
Yeah, but they
I'm
also
saying
got the big
it
EU
was.
warp nerf and Bastion being doubled.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
I
Bastion
mean,
was
all of
good.
them combined are good. Like I think they didn't go overboard completely changing it and then leaving it half finished. Like those are good changes, is what I'm saying.
Well, I have another completely disingenuous segue if you want to go to the other topic of
Finally, Antiplexes.
not Ansiblexes. Fuck Ansiblexes, by the way, but also
Amen.
not the topic of discussion. The topic of discussion, Project Awakening. You guys familiar with this at all? Are any of you under NDA?
There is no group on the planet better at making money turn to nothing than Crypto Bros.
Well, here's the thing.
I have still not heard a single reason why a decentralized blockchain is better for literally anything video game related than a traditional like data storage system.
Sounds like Sven wasn't at the board at its yacht club party and didn't get temporarily blinded.
He was not.
I
So
have
anyways,
my UV light at home, thank you very much.
for anyone who is unfamiliar, Project Awakening is an NFT game that CCP has been developing. They've been pretty quiet about it. Anybody who's playtesting it is under NDA, so they can't say much about it, right? They can't say anything. And in 11 hours and 13 minutes and some odd seconds, we find out more about this video game. But there was actually a post that I saw today that had a lot of information about it. The poster was quite pissed at CCP and does not like the Project Awakening rollout at all. Have you guys seen this post at all, or is this the first? Okay, perfect.
I read it.
Any initial takes before we jump in? Yeah.
There's two things, right? I don't think active development teams were necessarily directly taken away from EVE or any EVE related content because of this game, because it was all the money from it, all the funding from it is coming from crypto VC. And
right, yeah, the
if
$40
that money
million
wasn't there,
investment.
if that money wasn't there in the first place, like the content wouldn't have been like it's not mutually exclusive basically to EVE getting less because this game is in development, from what I can tell and from what I've heard.
Now, I think that is fundamentally impossible to have happen, because like anytime you put like $40 million is a lot of money in terms of like game development, right? And anytime you get that much money to do something, you're going to want to put the most that you can into it. So you're probably going to pull from wherever your resources are. That's logical. That makes sense. And if those resources are developing EVE assets, EVE mechanics, then yes, the game does suffer. So we can't confirm it. We can't definitively say like the game suffered, but it might have.
I'm pretty sure that they have. I'm under the impression that they've stated that it's a separate studio that's working on this. It's not like the
Yeah.
CCP and
You're right.
Reykjavik that's working
You're
on
right.
this.
And a separate studio under the parent company of a CCP would not take additional resources. You're absolutely correct. My bad.
Are you saying it seriously or
I'm saying
They did hire brand new people for it.
Yeah, this studio never was going to work on EVE stuff in the first place.
So they formed a brand new studio for it. I mean, I don't really know much about the Project Awakening. Like, this is the first actually seeing like inside of what it actually looks like and what the gameplay is. But
were you being serious or sarcastic when you said that they're not gonna? It wouldn't take away resources. I can't tell.
Which will prompt a response from you?
I don't know, dude. Like
I was being sarcastic.
I thought so because,
Yeah.
like, again, I don't. But no, this is like a separate, again, like a separate team.
Yeah.
Like, it's
right. That's why I said it was a disingenuous segue, right? But it worked. It got us here. But anyways, Within this post, there are a bunch of links. A lot of them don't work, but there are some that still do. One of them is basically just kind of an overview of everything to do with Project Awakening. And you can go through here. It's on the web, the archive. You can go through and you can look at some of this kind of stuff. But basically, they show like how the game works. And I don't know if you guys are watching the stream and the panel, but if you are, you'll see that it looks exactly like EVE Online almost. Like Mod, I think it was you. You said that CCP was really good at copy and pasting, and I mean that's almost exactly what they did with this.
Didn't Hilmar say that it was basically an attempt at making EVE open source and more easily contributable, like by players, so that EVE as an IP will last forever?
I think the idea was that they would open, like, maybe they would have like an open SDK or things like that, but they're not just going to let like random people just like profit off of their IP, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine they made EVE open source, all the fucking pull requests to fucking nerf mutants and antiplexes back in the days?
My God.
We just gave 2007 but for EVE.
Look, when I look at this, I can't help but see from what at least I can tell, Zero Reason implemented like blockchain integration with fucking gas fees and shit. Like there's nothing about like imagine tie-dye, but instead of tie-dye, you have to pay more taxes to NPCs because lots of people are buying stuff on the market.
That sounds
So
terrible.
there's like a bunch of people buying stuff at once. Oh, suddenly like the chain can't handle all of those requests at once. It needs to like make the gas fees way higher. It's like the hour to hour gas fees for like the Ethereum network can change from like 50, 60 to like $500 based on purely whether, like, for example, an NFT gets listed for way less than it's supposed to be worth, and there's a bidding war for that transaction on gas fees because 1,200 bots are all trying to bid for it.
Have you checked the launcher recently, Redline?
Not for anything specific. Is there something I should see? I'll check it right now.
1.6.3 current version. Add a sidebar to select an active product. More on this soon, TM.
Yeah, I mean,
this
they're
makes me
probably gonna
think
put
there's going to
Vanguard.
be another sidebar, which is the thing that you're trying to announce. They're trying to announce.
But yeah, they're probably gonna put
They'll put in the
Vanguard there on
launcher,
the
yeah.
left.
Yeah.
They're making it an actual launcher, not just for EVE, but
So
for
it's
other
integrated into
CCP
the EVE
projects.
launcher, but it's in a tab on the left-hand corner. I don't know if you've updated launcher, but I just saw it for the first time.
Separate game.
It's being downloaded. The update is right now, so I might be seeing it shortly.
It's not that big of a change. I just
yeah, of
tabbed
course.
in and realized, oh, this is the conversation you're having, and this is where they're going to put it.
That's
Honestly, they should just do this with
insane.
Vanguard, to be honest. Stop putting Vanguard on the same thing as my clients. Just put it in a separate tab.
Annoying.
And so just to kind of take it back to, where we were a little bit, as far as is this something where, so you said that Hilmar, the expectation is that this is a clone of EVE Online, but open source and in that NFT world? That's the goal?
I mean, from the statement that I read, from, I think he made it at FanFest last year. I was in the crowd watching, and it was basically like it was during the EVE Forever talk. Where he kind of explained that he wanted it kind of as a way for, even if the main EVE Online stops getting support, that there's like a way that the EVE IP continues.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is just, you can just ignore that. This is basically just marketing shit, like essentially what it is. Yeah.
And so I mean, my question really is though, is like, so I get like wanting to have the EVE IP live on forever, and I respect that, right? But is just copying and pasting the literal game of EVE Online into that space the way to do it. Like,
well, yeah. What do you think? That's what the VC fund paid for. Is they paid for the rights to EVE's like intellectual property and their trademarks, right? So you create the system that using like rifters or whatever the fuck. Yeah, that's why they did it. That's what they were asked to do and what they got paid for.
And then
So
they implemented blockchain technology to justify the VC from the crypto VC.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of the blockchain being integrated, one of the ways that's integrated is with this fuel that your ship needs to be able to function. I believe that this is I don't really know, but it seems like it's you buy this using your little NFT crypto whatever, and this is how you actually just play the game. So it costs to play it. That doesn't make sense to me.
It seems like it's going to be, at least from what I can tell, just like the way that the mechanics look, like some sort of pay to earn type deal where you put like money in or some shit and kind of lets you play the game and make more, I guess. It's
so like pay to earn I am completely
fundamentally doesn't
fine
work.
with. It does.
Doesn't
I
work.
mean, it
No, it
does
doesn't.
to a degree. Like in the Diablo 3 auction house, that shit was great. When I sold a Wind Force for $250, that shit felt great. I will never say it didn't. However,
the reason that they're having
having a buy-in to it is abhorrent. That is a terrible way to go about it. Like if you want to give players money for playing your game, sure. But if you're going to charge them money to make money playing your game, that's cringe and lame.
Look, if the goal of your game, if people are going into it with the goal of making money, right?
What is
They're
this?
not.
Infinity 2.0?
What's the other goals?
So
that's what you do.
No, IRL money, right?
That's what I mean.
They're not. They're gonna log in, get their like 9 to 5 in, make their money, and then leave. They're not gonna care about like the health of the game. They're not gonna care about like any sort of supporting
Sounds like something
system
I
or
know.
like, right? Like it's just it promotes the most it's just not the incentives that you want from a game.
Okay, so backing up a little bit, the reason that they would charge money for any of this to happen, right, is so that they can pay for the actual tokens on the chain to, execute, right? They have to pay for the processing. That's why.
That's what the 40 milli's for. This game didn't cost $40 million to develop, frankly.
How do you know?
If it cost $40 million to copy and paste EVE Online into a shitty NFT blockchain game, then I am in the wrong profession.
I was gonna say, do you remember when they tried doing NFTs, but for like the Alliance tournament, right? Like you got like token cards or something for like different tournaments. I don't remember. Does that chain still even exist?
No.
Or did that? Okay, I didn't think so.
Went over like a lead balloon.
All of the fucking NFT hype died because it was never useful in the first place. And it was a speculative market. People were making money because others, more stupid people, were putting money into the system.
Yeah.
Because they thought they could make money off of it. Nobody was
it's gonna
like
be worth
genuinely
millions any day now.
Nobody was genuinely engaging with the system as a form of like apart from a few not very intelligent people, or at least they didn't have the right frame of reference. They were kind of applying it to the wrong things. But blockchain was never going to replace the banking system. Blockchain technology was like it's so inefficient and complex purely because of its decentralized manner. Like it's basically it's complex because of a problem that it created itself. Like fundamentally is the issue with crypto, right? Like it's complex because of the issue of crypto and the decentralized nature of it.
I was going to say we could give the technical reasons why, but I'm sure like 3 people watching the stream would care or like understand
Right.
like the issues with
I'll
like what an
stop yapping
RG
about it.
with what,
Again,
like,
I'm
with what an
passionate
RGBMS
about
is.
how
Yeah.
inefficient and dog shit it is, but
yeah, I mean, you were talking about complexity, which makes sense because I'm just looking at some of this other stuff here, and they've got all these different kinds of engines and all these different kinds of fuels that go into the different engines, and I assume that these would all be different kinds of like transactions on the blockchain, right? The fitting looks exactly the same. It's got mining lenses. Don't know how you get those, but they are, reused or run out. So more overview looks the same. It all looks the same. It all looks the same. It's insane to me.
you think those engine icons are AI generated?
I don't think that there is a thing new in this game that isn't
You mean?
AI generated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was a long way of saying no. I do think they are AI generated, yeah. But that's what I would do. I mean, it's easy, right? It's easy to do it like that, and that's the CCP brand, is doing it the easy way, right?
Is that an enam on the mid slot?
Go down. Yeah, it is. At the top.
Did I go to the wrong section?
It was up above the one you're just looking at. It's like I think the second picture.
No, you were just looking
Third
at
picture.
Yeah, that's an enam in a mid slot. Yeah.
Heresy.
I mean, it sure is weird. It sure is weird to see it. But I mean, it's all basically the carbon copy of Eve.
Isn't that the Holo-Energizer as well?
Here's I'll
Yeah,
zoom in
like
on
it. Either
zoom
it's
in on
that or
this
one of
guy.
those new weird modules with rarity icon like from Skinner. At least that's what it looks like. Yo, they got abyssals and shit. Hell yeah, I'm playing this game.
Oh, is that right?
Let's go
You scrolled up
gambling.
a little. You scrolled past it a little bit.
Yeah, so they
Go
got
back.
looks like they got the low slots and the mid slots. Whatever these
Yeah, they got a
boxes
rig in the
are.
lows.
Rig in the lows, yep.
That's a whole. It's
Whatever
it's
this
a
is.
hue shifted hull energizer. It's just green instead of red.
I'm
And
assuming
the
that's the
AB is
engine.
no, because it's hull energizers are red and yellow. And this one's green and yellow, and then the AB is just red instead of blue now. I don't know.
I'm gonna head to bed, but this is either gonna be maybe it'll be good, but either way,
I hope it's
gonna
good.
be it's probably gonna
Genuinely
be
hope it's good.
probably gonna be really really funny, and a lot of really stupid people who deserve to lose money are gonna lose money, and that'll also be really really funny.
I mean, I don't know. I just think, like I said before,
Wait,
I think that
they look
having
like
a
filament.
buy-in from this,
That looked
even
like a filament.
where I know I'm breezing through shit. Filament.
What if it's free to play? Because a lot of people buy into Eve right now anyway. Think about how much money people spend on this game.
I mean, people do spend a lot of money, but even so, that's like with the monthly subscription and stuff like that, and that makes sense for an MMO. Like that's the model, right? But this kind of game, I want to say that there aren't a lot of games that focus on the blockchain. Am I wrong in saying that? Like the only one that I can think of is Logan Paul's scam game, allegedly.
There was the board
Egg
ape.
one,
There
yeah.
was the board ape game where you went through a fucking subway or some shit, collecting shit, and you had to have one of the apes that are all like over 100 grand each. You should go look that up. Oh, so it was limited time as well. Yeah, like the entire thing's just a fucking joke.
It's because there's no, at least as far as I have seen, reason to use a blockchain, which is essentially just a more complex database that is millions of times less efficient and more annoying to work with.
But is it going to be accessible from outside the game?
No clue. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I assume that we're gonna find out more in 10 hours and 55 minutes as far as like what this is gonna be. I'm definitely just gonna leave this page open so that once something does change on it, I'll be able to see it. Sure. Because I am curious where they're gonna go. I think that it's a bastardization of the Eve IP. And I think that it will lead to the inevitable betrayal of our trust and the blockchain making its way into tranquility. And I await that fateful day with you, soldiers.
I
Um,
I have an unpopular opinion about RMT. I don't think it's a horrible thing. The fact that it's against the rules means that no one should do it for fairness and balance and that sort of stuff. But I don't. It sort of adds value to things as well.
You think so?
Anyway, yeah. So if they are trying to incorporate it into a game that actively encourages that sort of interaction with real money assets,
All
maybe
they'd
they
have to
could make
do,
it balanced and actually not like an unfair model.
all they'd have to do is make it so that you can sell Plex back to CCP. Boom, that's pay to earn. Easy peasy. RMT.
I
The
don't
issue
even know
kind
what
of
to say to that. Yeah.
the issue kind of arises where
And they could.
If the majority of the player base, which if you're able to make money, will be so what do you realistically what are you getting paid for? Like what work are you doing? What are you generating that is worth the money that you are being paid, right?
Well,
If
we're
that
boosting your stats.
No,
Your game stats.
it's only worth like as much as somebody is willing to pay for it, right? So if the money is good, lots of people are going to start doing it, and then it becomes worthless, and then people stop
Yeah, I
because
wonder how many
they're not
people.
there to play the game because the game's fun. They're there to make money, and they leave as soon as it's not worth it anymore, and then you just hit a downward spiral of it's not worth it, and so people leave because that's the only reason why they're there. Like
Yep.
you gotta.
So I'm guessing you think that Project Awakening is doomed to fail, just because of the way that the game is designed and the way that
I
the
have
blockchain works.
no clue, but based on all of the previous attempts of incorporating NFTs into video games, I am not very confident.
Eh.
I don't know. I hope it does well. It'd be interesting if they somehow find a way to make the use of a blockchain integration interesting. I would love to see that because I have not seen it yet, and that sounds cool. Like if there's an actual neat usage of it that overall improves the quality of the game, that makes it better in some way, I will be surprised and I will be very intrigued because I think that's cool, right? I just don't see that happening realistically because at its core, all it is just a
It's the
slower
worst.
database.
It's the worst RDBMS. Yeah.
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 That is only good for. I mean, it's not.
It's only good for the only thing they're good for is proving that a transaction did in fact truly actually happen. That's the one thing that they have that an RDBMS can't do is prove fraud.
I mean,
Well, gang, hold up. Before you go into the crypto talk, you were absolutely right. There are like 3 people that will care, and I am definitely not one of them. I don't care if you talk
That's
about it.
fair.
I don't care
Entirely.
if you talk about it, but I am gonna cut the stream though. It's been a couple hours, so if you got any final thoughts for the people that are watching, now's the time.
Yeah, watch the Alliance tournament. Misty will be there. I'll be there. There'll be cute boys on stream.
Cute
How about
boys
you
on stream?
don't watch the Alliance tournament?
Oh
That's
no, do
my
definitely
closing
do.
statement.
All right.
Ban and Suplexes, guys. Thumbs up.
Ban and Sluxes. Well, I'll
Rest
tell
in
you what.
peace, Zarzak. Don't come back.
Gang, so I'm gonna cut the stream on this channel, and then I'm gonna switch over to my actual channel. I'm gonna play some Minecraft. You guys play Minecraft? Play Minecraft with me?
I play EVE Online.
Good. Yeah.
Dude, I play.
Play Eve Online.
Play Deadlock right now, dude. I'm fucking owning in lane 7 at the moment.
Is the game fun?
It's best, yes. It's actually really good.
I gotta play it.
Well, anyways, so Sven, are you going to be my first guest on the new show?
I will make you an hour-long PowerPoint on
yes.
how to fix capital balance.
How to fix the game. So the new show, How to Fix the Game, starts whenever Sven finishes his presentation. It's a new thing where if you have suggestions, like if you have a plan on how to make EVE Online better, I want to hear about it. Make a PowerPoint presentation and hit me up. We'll go live. We'll talk about it on the stream. It'd be a great time. But anyways, like I said, I'm gonna go live on my other channel here in a little bit. If you want to stick around, I'll rate it once I am. But otherwise, I'll catch you the next time there's an EVE story or some drama we can talk about. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time. Gotta do an outro or something. I don't know what to do at the end.
Start singing Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet's back. All right. That's a better one. Because actually, that's a great idea. So we're gonna leave us out since the stream. I already turned off the mic, but since the stream is back, we're gonna leave us with the Backstreet's back. All right. That's what we're gonna do.
I was gonna get copyright struck off the face of the planet.
That's fine. What's gonna happen? Or I can play that Big Steppin' song.
Please no.
That's so good.
It's a banger, but that's a problem. Don't kill it.
Big Stepper, underground rapper. All right. Anyways.